Hello everyone, and welcome to the Saiyan What Ifs. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Goku was trained by Zeno himself. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Omni King's Gaze. The afternoon sun bathed Papaya Island in golden light, casting long shadows across the tournament grounds as 12-year-old Son Goku faced Jackie Chun in the finals of the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament. Spectators roared with each exchange, unaware that among them, reality itself had quietly fractured, a minuscule tear in the cosmic fabric that should have been impossible. High above the arena, invisible to mortal eyes, the Grand Minister paused mid-flight. His customary serene expression faltered for the briefest moment before being replaced with something rarely seen on his angelic features: concern. "This cannot be," he whispered, his voice lost in the void between dimensions. Far beyond the highest heavens, past the realm of the supreme Kais, beyond even the sacred domain of the gods of destruction, an entity that seldom took notice of individual mortal affairs had inexplicably turned its attention toward Earth. Zeno, the Omni King, had awakened from his cosmic disinterest. In the tournament below, oblivious to the cosmic significance of the moment, Goku launched himself skyward with impossible speed for a child his age. His small frame twisted in midair, dodging Jackie Chun's Kamehameha wave by millimeters. The old master's eyes widened with genuine surprise at the boy's intuitive adaptation. "Remarkable," Jackie Chun muttered, secretly impressed with his student's progress. "The boy moves on instinct alone." What neither fighter realized was that Goku's seemingly instinctive movements were resonating with something primordial, fundamental patterns of movement that existed before the universe itself. Each step, each punch, though clumsy and unrefined by divine standards, contained flickers of potential that had not been seen in a mortal for millions of years. Within his palace beyond time and space, Zeno leaned forward on his throne. Multicolored light danced across his childlike face as he observed the tournament through a shimmering portal. "This one is interesting," Zeno stated, his simple words causing tremors throughout the celestial hierarchy. The Grand Minister, having arrived at Zeno's palace, knelt respectfully. "My lord, the boy is merely a Saiyan child from Universe 7. Talented for his species, certainly, but he moves correctly," Zeno interrupted, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority despite its childish timbre. "There is possibility in him." In the infinite history of creation, Zeno had never taken a personal interest in a specific mortal. Gods of destruction, supreme Kais, angels, these beings existed in careful balance to maintain cosmic order. Mortals existed to populate the universes, to evolve, to occasionally entertain. They were not beings worthy of the Omni King's direct attention. Until now, on Earth, the tournament reached its climax. Goku and Jackie Chun stood facing each other, both breathing heavily from exertion. The old master had pushed the boy to his limits, forcing him to grow stronger with each exchange. As Jackie Chun prepared his final attack, he noticed something strange in the boy's eyes, a momentary flash of blue-white light that seemed to come from within. What was that? The disguised Master Roshi wondered. Before he could contemplate further, the sky above the tournament grounds darkened. Not with clouds or natural phenomena, but with something more fundamental, as if light itself hesitated to exist. Spectators fell silent, their instinctive fear of the unknown overwhelming their excitement. Goku, sensing the change, looked upward with innocent curiosity rather than fear. Is it going to rain?" he asked, shielding his eyes with one hand. The darkness parted like a curtain, revealing a swirling vortex of colors that had no business existing in the natural world. From within this impossible breach stepped a small, childlike figure flanked by a tall, blue-skinned attendant. The reaction was immediate and universal. Every divine being throughout Universe 7, from the lowest nature spirits to the supreme Kais themselves, froze in absolute terror. Beerus, the god of destruction, awakened from his slumber with a gasp of dread. His attendant dropped his staff, an unprecedented display of shock from the normally composed angel. "It cannot be," whispered. "Lord Zeno has left his palace." On Earth, only those with the most rudimentary key awareness could sense the wrongness of what was occurring. Master Roshi fell to his knees, his disguise forgotten as overwhelming pressure crushed down upon his shoulders. Krillin collapsed unconscious. Yamcha, Bulma, and the other spectators felt inexplicable dread without understanding why. Only Goku remained standing tall, gazing up at the strange child with innocent curiosity. Zeno descended slowly, the air him shimmering with each movement as if reality struggled to accommodate his presence. The Grand Minister followed close behind, his expression carefully neutral despite the unprecedented nature of the situation. "Hello," Zeno said simply, his voice somehow audible to everyone despite its softness. "You fight well." Goku scratched his head, tail swishing behind him. "Thanks. You wanna fight too? The tournament's almost over, but maybe they'd let you join the next one." A collective gasp arose from those who recognized the cosmic significance of the moment. Master Roshi tried to speak, to warn his student, but found himself unable to make a sound in Zeno's presence. The Grand Minister stepped forward, his staff tapping lightly against the tournament tiles. "Young one, do you have any idea who addresses you?" Goku shook his head. "Nope, but he feels really strong. Stronger than anyone I've ever met." His eyes lit up with excitement rather than fear. "I bet you'd be fun to fight." For the first time in eons, something unexpected happened. Zeno laughed, a sound so pure and yet so terrifying that it caused ripples throughout the multiverse. Gods trembled, planets quaked, and somewhere beyond perception, the very barriers between universes momentarily thinned. "I like him," Zeno declared, pointing a small finger at Goku. "He will come with me." The Grand Minister's eyes widened fractionally. "My lord, with all respect, this is most irregular. The boy is a mortal of Universe 7, under the jurisdiction of." "He will come with me," Zeno repeated, his childlike voice undercut with absolute finality. In that moment, Goku felt a strange sensation, as if someone had opened a door within his mind that he never knew existed. Power beyond his comprehension brushed against his consciousness, and instead of being crushed by it, his spirit responded with curiosity. "Go where?" Goku asked, tail twitching with interest. "Will there be food, and strong people to fight?" Zeno nodded. "Many fights, much to learn." Master Roshi finally found his voice, though it emerged as barely more than a whisper. "Goku, my boy, this is beyond anything I could have imagined." "The being before you is the Everything King," interrupted a new voice. A slender figure materialized beside the Grand Minister. Female in appearance, with pale lavender skin and white hair elaborately styled with golden ornaments. She carried a staff similar to the Grand Minister's but adorned with different symbols. Her expression was severe, eyes narrowing as they fixed on Goku. "Lord Zeno, ruler of all, creator and destroyer of universes, has for unfathomable reasons taken interest in this child." Her tone carried clear disapproval. "I am Orin, Celestial Archivist, and I must formally Regis. Chair objection to this unprecedented breach of cosmic protocol." The Grand Minister shot her a warning glance. "Orin, you forget yourself." Zeno seemed unperturbed by the objection. He continued to study Goku with childlike fascination. "Protocol is boring. This one moves right, shows the pattern." Goku looked between the strange beings, confusion evident on his face. "I don't really get what's happening, but if you're strong, I'd like to train with you." His stomach growled loudly. After lunch maybe." This simple, earnest response elicited another laugh from Zeno, shorter this time, but no less reality-shaking. The Omni King extended a small hand toward Goku. "Come, food and fighting." Before Goku could respond, another voice called out from the edge of the arena. Wait, it was Bulma, pushing past stunned officials to reach her friend. Though she couldn't comprehend the cosmic significance of the moment, her protective instincts had overcome her fear. "You can't just take him. Goku, you don't even know where you're going." The Grand Minister turned toward her, his expression softening slightly at her courage. "Young woman, your concern is noted but unnecessary. If Lord Zeno wishes the boy's company, it is the greatest honor any mortal has ever received." "But," Bulma began. "It's okay, Bulma," Goku called cheerfully. "I'll train really hard and come back super strong. Take care of my power pole and Dragon Ball until I get back, okay?" Orin stepped forward, her ethereal robes flowing around her despite the absence of wind. "If I may suggest a compromise, Lord Zeno." Perhaps the boy could undertake supervised training periods, returning to his realm between sessions. This would maintain cosmic balance while satisfying your curiosity. Zeno considered this for a moment, his head tilting slightly. No, time works wrong here. Need the nexus. With those cryptic words, Zeno gently placed a hand on Goku's shoulder. The air around them began to shimmer and distort, colors swirling in impossible patterns. Wait, Master Roshi called out, finding courage in his concern for his student. How long will he be gone? The Grand Minister answered as the dimensional rift began to widen. Time flows differently within Lord Zeno's domain. What might be years there could be merely moments here, or vice versa. There is no way to predict. Goku waved enthusiastically to his friends as reality began to bend around him. Don't worry, I'll be back for the next tournament. Save me some food. His final words echoed across the suddenly silent arena as he, Zeno, the Grand Minister, and the disapproving Orin vanished in a flash of light that seared itself into the retinas of all who witnessed it. And then they were gone, leaving behind a world forever changed by the momentary presence of the Omni King. Traversing dimensions was nothing like Goku had imagined. There was no sensation of movement, no wind rushing past his face, no exhilarating acceleration. Instead, reality simply rearranged itself around him. One moment he stood in the tournament arena with the sun warming his skin, the next he floated in a void that defied comprehension. Whoa! Goku exclaimed, eyes wide as he tried to process what he was seeing, or rather, what he wasn't seeing. Where are we? There's nothing here. Between, Zeno replied simply, seemingly untroubled by the absence of, well, everything. The Grand Minister elaborated, noting Goku's confusion. We are traveling through the space between dimensions, young one. This void exists outside the multi-verse proper, a necessary transit point before we reach Lord Zeno's domain. Orin maintained her disapproving expression but added, few mortals have witnessed this space and maintained their sanity. Your mind appears to be adapting remarkably well. Her tone suggested this was less compliment and more scientific observation. Goku spun slowly in the nothingness, his tail extending for balance. It wasn't necessary in this place without physics. It's kinda boring though. Is there anything to eat here? Before anyone could respond to this decidedly mundane concern, the void around them shifted. Colors that had no names in any mortal language began to bleed into existence. Structures that defied Euclidean geometry materialized in the distance, if distance even had meaning in this realm. Quote, we approach the outer boundary of the Nexus, the Grand Minister announced. Prepare yourself, young Goku. What you are about to experience may be overwhelming. Goku nodded eagerly, showing none of the appropriate awe or terror that should accompany such a warning. His eyes gleamed with the pure excitement of discovery, the same expression he wore when facing a powerful new opponent. The dimensional barrier parted before Zeno like a curtain responding to its master's touch. Beyond lay a realm that Goku's senses struggled to interpret. Colors shifted constantly, some appearing and disappearing so quickly they left afterimages in his vision. Structures floated untethered to any visible ground, their architecture impossible, staircases that led in multiple directions simultaneously, doorways that opened onto multiple locations, windows that looked out upon different universes. At the center of it all stood a palace that dwarfed anything Goku had ever seen. It wasn't merely large, it was cosmically vast, extending in directions that shouldn't exist, its spires piercing realities Goku didn't know existed. Welcome to my home, Zeno said, gesturing toward the impossible structure. Goku's stomach chose that moment to growl loudly, reminding everyone present of his very mortal needs. The Grand Minister chuckled softly. Perhaps we should attend to the boy's physical requirements before proceeding with whatever it is you intend, my lord. Zeno nodded once. With a casual gesture, a table materialized before them, laden with more food than Goku had ever seen in one place. Dishes from across multiple universes steamed enticingly, their aromas combining in a symphony of scents. Wow! Goku exclaimed, eyes widening. Thanks, I'm starving. Without waiting for permission, he launched himself at the feast with characteristic enthusiasm. Orin watched with poorly disguised horror as Goku devoured plate after plate with the table manners of a wild animal. This The mortal that has captured your interest, Lord Zeno. This uncouth child. Zeno seemed untroubled by Goku's display. He eats honestly. No pretending. The Grand Minister observed the boy with growing curiosity. Indeed, there is a certain purity to him that is unusual in mortal beings. No artifice, no hidden motives. A primitive simplicity, Orin corrected, though her tone had softened slightly. Though I suppose there's something refreshing about it. Goku, oblivious to their assessment of his character, continued eating until he had consumed enough food to feed a small army. Finally satisfied, he patted his distended belly and sighed contentedly. That was great. So, when do we start fighting? Zeno clapped his hands together, childlike excitement evident on his features. Now, with another gesture, their surroundings shifted. The floating table vanished, and they now stood in a vast training area unlike anything Goku had ever seen. The floor beneath their feet seemed solid enough, but it glowed with intricate patterns that pulsed with energy. The walls, if they could be called walls, stretched upward indefinitely, occasionally rippling like the surface of water. This is the Nexus training ground. The Grand Minister explained. Here, the fundamental forces of reality are more malleable than in your universe. It will allow Lord Zeno to instruct you with Chi destroying multiple galaxies in the process. Orin stepped forward, her staff tapping against the luminescent floor. Before this goes any further, we must establish parameters. The mortal's body will require significant modifications to withstand even the most basic instruction from Lord Zeno. Goku looked down at himself with confusion. What's wrong with my body? I'm pretty strong already. The Grand Minister smiled gently. Young one, you misunderstand. By mortal standards, you possess remarkable potential. By divine standards, however, he trailed off diplomatically. By divine standards, your physical form is barely more substantial than smoke, Orin finished bluntly. A single flicker of Lord Zeno's true power would annihilate you completely, along with your entire universe, most likely. Goku's eyes widened. Wow, you're that strong. He turned to Zeno with undisguised excitement rather than fear. That's amazing. I can't wait to learn from you. Zeno regarded Goku with that same inscrutable interest. He understands power. Not afraid. Good. The Grand Minister nodded. Indeed. However, Orin is correct about the physical limitations. Even with his Saiyan physiology, the boy would not survive true divine training without preparation. I propose a transitional period, Orin suggested, her analytical mind already formulating solutions. The mortal's body Saint be gradually acclimated to divine energy. Additionally, his conceptual understanding must be expanded. He currently lacks even the basic framework to comprehend what Lord Zeno might teach him. Zeno considered this, then nodded. You teach basics. I watch. Orin blinked in surprise. Me, my lord, I am an archivist, not a combat instructor. Surely the Grand Minister would be better suited. No, Zeno interrupted. You doubt. You test. Better teacher. The Grand Minister's eyes twinkled with amusement. It seems Lord Zeno values your skepticism, Orin. Perhaps your doubt will provide a useful counterbalance to the boy's enthusiastic nature. Orin straightened her posture, recognizing the directive for what it was, an unquestionable command from the Omni King. As you wish, my lord. I shall establish a preliminary curriculum. Goku bounced excitedly on his toes. So when do we start fighting? We don't, Orin replied firmly. Not yet. First, you must learn to perceive reality as it truly is. Not as your limited mortal senses interpret it. Goku's face fell with disappointment. That sounds boring. Boring or not, it is necessary, Orin stated, tapping her staff against the floor. Without this foundation, any power you might gain would be uncontrolled and dangerous. You would be like a blind man wielding a weapon capable of destroying worlds. The Grand Minister interjected with a gentler approach. Think of it as learning to crawl before you can walk, young Goku. Before Master Roshi taught you the Kamehameha, did he not first teach you the basics of ki manipulation? This comparison seemed to reach Goku. He nodded slowly. I guess that makes sense. But how long will it take? Time works differently here, Orin explained. What might feel like years to you could be mere moments in your home universe. Zeno, who had been quietly observing their exchange, suddenly floated upward. I will return. Train well. Without further explanation, the OMN King vanished in a flash of multicolored light. The Grand Minister bowed slightly. I shall attend to Lord Zeno's other matters. Orin, I entrust the boy to your care. Do try not to let your prejudices interfere with his instruction. Before Orin could object to this characterization, the Grand Minister too had disappeared, leaving her alone with Goku in the vast training ground. For a moment, silence hung between them, the ancient, knowledge-bearing angel and the young, wild-haired Saiyan boy. Orin sighed deeply, resignation evident in her posture. Well then, Son Goku of Universe 7, seems I am to be your instructor for the foreseeable future. Let us establish some ground rules. Goku scratched his head. Rules, like in a tournament. More fundamental than that, Orin replied, pacing slowly around him. Her critical eyes assessed every aspect of his posture, his energy signature, the peculiar way his ki flowed through pathways that shouldn't exist in a mortal body. First rule, you will address me as Instructor Orin, not just Orin. Okay, Instructor Orin, Goku replied cheerfully. What's the second rule? Second rule, questions are encouraged, but only relevant ones. When do we eat? Is not a relevant question unless we are specifically discussing nutrition. Goku's face fell slightly, but food is important. Third rule, Orin continued, ignoring his comment. You will do exactly as instructed, without deviation. This is for your own safety and the continued existence of multiple universes. She stopped directly in front of him, her ethereal staff planted firmly between them. Do you understand and accept these conditions? Goku nodded eagerly. Yes, Instructor Orin. When do we? He caught himself before asking about food again. I mean, what do we learn first? For the first time, a ghost of a smile touched Orin's lips. Perhaps there is hope for you after all. We begin with perception. She tapped her staff against the floor. Sing the luminescent patterns to shift and flow. Sit. Goku plopped down cross-legged on the floor, his tail curling comfortably around his waist. Close your eyes, Orin instructed, her voice talking on a rhythmic quality that seemed to resonate with the patterns flowing beneath them. Forget everything you think you know about energy, about ki, about power. Your understanding is that of a LD describing an ocean after seeing only a drop of water. Goku fidgeted slightly but kept his eyes closed as instructed. Be still, Orin commanded. Now, reach out with your senses, not your eyes, ears, or skin, but with that part of you that detects ki. Goku concentrated, furrowing his brow with effort. I can feel something. It's different from regular ki. Kinda bigger. What is divine energy, the fundamental power that gods wield, Orin explained, slowly circling him. It exists on a plane above mortal ki, just as mortal ki exists above physical strength. Now, reach deeper. For hours that stretched into days, Orin guided Goku through increasingly complex perception exercises. The boy's progress was remarkable, his natural affinity for energy manipulation allowing him to grasp concepts that should have taken decades to master. Yet his attention span remained frustratingly short, his stomach's growls interrupting even the most profound meditative states. Time flowed strangely in the Nexus. Periods of intense training were punctuated by feasts that appeared at Zeno's unspoken command. Sleep came only when Goku's mortal body could no longer sustain consciousness. Regardless of the arbitrary concept of day or night. Throughout it all, Zeno observed from afar, his expression unreadable as the young Saiyan gradually began to perceive layers of reality invisible to mortal eyes. On what might have been the 7th day, or perhaps the 70th, Orin announced a change in their routine. You have progressed sufficiently in perception, she stated, not quite managing to hide the note of surprise in her voice. Today, we begin physical adaptation. Goku leapt to his feet with excitement. Finally, does this mean we get to fight? Not yet, Orin replied, though her tone had lost much of its initial sharpness. Your body must be prepared to channel energies beyond mortal comprehension. This will be uncomfortable. Before Goku could question what she meant, Orin placed her palm against his forehead. Divine energy surged from her touch, flooding his system with power that burned like fire and froze like ice simultaneously. Goku gasped, his eyes widening as pain unlike anything he had ever experienced coursed through him. What you feel is your mortal cells restructuring to accommodate divine essence, Orin explained calmly, maintaining the connection despite Goku's obvious discomfort. Lesser beings would be obliterated instantly. Your Saiyan physiology gives you a slight advantage, but this process will still require time. Through gritted teeth, Goku managed to ask, how long? Orin's expression softened slightly. That depends entirely on you, young one. Your willpower and adaptability will determine the pace. What followed was a period of intense physical transformation. Day after day, Orin channeled measured doses of divine energy into Goku's system, carefully monitoring his body's response. The pain never fully subsided. But Goku endured with remarkable resilience, his determination never wavering. Between these sessions, Orin began teaching him the fundamental stances of divine combat, movement. TS that seemed simple on the surface but contained depths of meaning Goku couldn't yet comprehend. These forms have existed since the dawn of the first universe, Orin explained as she demonstrated. A sequence that somehow looked both fluid and geometrically precise. They are not merely physical positions but statements of intent that reality itself recognizes. Goku mimicked her movements with growing accuracy, his body gradually becoming more attuned to the strange energies of the Nexus. It feels different from regular martial arts, he observed. Like I'm talking to something when I move. Orin paused mid-stance, genuine surprise evident in her expression. That is a remarkably astute observation. Yes, these movements are indeed a form of communication with the fundamental forces of creation. Goku beamed at the rare compliment. As the training intensified, Goku's appearance began to change subtly. His muscles became more defined, his posture more balanced. A faint aura occasionally shimmered around him when he performed the divine stances correctly, not the flashy display of mortal ki, but something more fundamental, as if light itself acknowledged his growing connection to cosmic forces. Zeno's visits became more frequent. The Omni King would materialize without warning, observe silently for a time, occasionally offering cryptic comments that even Orin struggled to interpret. Then vanish again without explanation. After one such visit, Orin announced a significant advancement in Goku's training. Lord Zeno believes you are ready to begin learning about Null Ki, she stated. Her tone conveying the gravity of this development. I had not expected to reach this stage for at least another century. Goku, who had been practicing a particularly complex stance, dropped into a more relaxed position. Null Ki, what's that? Is it stronger than regular Ki? Null Ki is not stronger than regular Ki in the way that divine energy is stronger than mortal energy, Orin explained carefully. It is fundamentally different. While mortal Ki represents life force and divine Ki represents creative or destructive potential, Null Ki exists in the space between possibilities. Seeing Goku's confused expression, she sighed. Perhaps a demonstration would be more effective than explanation. Orin extended her palm, summoning a small sphere of energy. Chi glowed with the characteristic light of divine power. This is divine Ki, the energy wielded by gods. With her other hand, she created a second sphere of darker energy. This is destructive energy, as wielded by gods of destruction. Goku nodded, familiar with these concepts after months of training. Now, observe carefully, Orin instructed. She brought her hands together, allowing the two spheres to approach but not touch. In the space between them, something strange occurred. A third type of energy manifested, neither light nor dark, neither creative nor destructive. It simply was, copying space while simultaneously suggesting the absence of space. That's Null Ki, Orin explained. It exists in the boundary between opposing forces, in the moment of decision between multiple possibilities. It is the power Lord Zeno wields when he erases entire universes, not destroying them, but removing their very possibility of existence. Goku reached out tentatively toward the strange energy. It feels empty, but not in a bad way. Like the moment before a fight starts, when anything could happen. Orin dispelled all three energy types with a wave of her hand. Again, your intuition serves you well. Null Ki is potential itself, the canvas upon which reality is painted. Learning to perceive it is the first step toward manipulation, though few beings below the level of gods have ever managed even that much. And Zeno wants me to learn this? Goku asked, excitement mingling with a new sensation, a dawning awareness of the responsibility such power would entail. For reasons I cannot fathom, yes. Orin confirmed. Though whether your mortal mind can truly comprehend such concepts remains to be seen. The introduction of null key marked a turning point in Goku's training. The relatively straightforward perception exercises and physical adaptations gave way to increasingly abstract concepts. Orin pushed Goku's understanding to its limits and beyond, forcing him to perceive reality in ways his human teachers could never have imagined. Throughout it all, Goku maintained his essential nature, his enthusiasm for challenge, his simple joy in improvement, his unfailing optimism. Even Orin's initially cold demeanor gradually thawed in the face of his genuine earnestness. Time continued its strange flow in the Nexus. What felt like years passed for Goku, though his body aged at an inconsistent rate. Affected by the divine energies saturating his being, the boy who had entered the Nexus as a 12-year-old gradually transformed into a young man, his childish features giving way to sharper, more defined angles, his height increasing until he stood eye to eye with Orin herself. On what might have been the 1,000th day of training, or perhaps the 10,000th, Zeno appeared once more. This time accompanied by the Grand Minister. "It is time," Zeno announced simply. Orin immediately bowed deeply. "My lord, while the mortal's progress has been remarkable, I do not believe he is ready for direct instruction from." "Not your decision," Zeno interrupted, his childlike voice containing unmistakable authority. "He is ready." The Grand Minister stepped forward, his perpetual smile somehow more pronounced than usual. "What Lord Zeno means to say is that young Goku has reached a plateau in what you can teach him, Orin. The next phase of his training requires Lord Zeno's personal attention." Goku, who had also bowed at Zeno's appearance, a sign of respect Orin had literally beaten into him over years of instruction, looked up with barely contained excitement. "Does this mean I finally get to spar with you?" Zeno nodded once, his expression unreadable. Orin's eyes widened with alarm. "My lord, even with his enhanced physiology and perception, direct combat with you would." "Not full power," Zeno clarified. "Just enough." The Grand Minister placed a calming hand on Orin's shoulder. "Lord Zeno understands the limitations better than any of us, Orin. Trust in his wisdom." Orin subsided, though concern remained evident in her posture. "As you wish, my lord. Shall I prepare the cosmic arena?" Zeno shook his head. "Here is fine." With those words, the Omni King floated to the center of the training ground. The luminescent patterns beneath his feet responded immediately, expanding and intensifying until the entire floor glowed with power. "Come," Zeno commanded, gesturing to Goku. Taking a deep breath, Goku stepped forward, his movements displaying the perfect balance and control that years of divine training had instilled. Gone was the wild, undisciplined child who had arrived in the Nexus. In his place stood a warrior whose every gesture spoke of carefully harnessed power. "Remember your fundamentals," Orin called out, unable to entirely suppress her concern. "Perception before action, intent before form." Goku nodded without taking his eyes off Zeno. "I remember, Instructor Orin." As Goku took his position opposite Zeno, the air between them seemed to thicken with potential. The Grand Minister and Orin retreated to the edges of the training ground, creating a barrier of divine energy to contain whatever might transpire. For a moment, perfect stillness reigned. Then Zeno moved. To describe it as movement would be inadequate. The Omni King simply existed in one position, then existed in another, with no perceivable transition between states. Had Goku been relying on his physical senses, he would have perceived nothing until Zeno's attack connected. But years of training had taught him to perceive beyond the physical. In the instant before Zeno moved, Goku sensed the shift in potential, the whisper of null key announcing a change in the pattern of reality. Goku's body responded without conscious thought, executing a perfect evasion that placed him just beyond Zeno's reach. Not fast enough to completely avoid contact, he felt the brush of divine energy against his shoulder, sending shockwaves of power through his system, but enough to prevent direct impact. "Good," Zeno said, his childlike face showing the first hint of a smile. Again, what followed defied conventional understanding of combat. Zeno never appeared to exert effort, never displayed anything resembling traditional fighting techniques. Instead, he simply manipulated possibility itself, existing wherever Goku was most vulnerable. For his part, Goku drew upon everything Orin had taught him, the divine stances, the perception of energy beyond energy, the subtle communication with fundamental forces. Each movement became a negotiation with reality rather than a merely physical action. To the observers, the training session appeared as a dance of light and shadow, with Goku weaving through impossible paces as Zeno's presence shifted around him like a living kaleidoscope. Remarkable, the Grand Minister murmured. The boy is actually keeping pace. Orin nodded, professional pride momentarily overcoming her perpetual skepticism. His intuitive grasp of spatial relationships is unprecedented in a mortal. He's not thinking through the movements, he's feeling the patterns directly. The session continued for what seemed like hours, though time held little meaning in the Nexus. Throughout it all, Goku never landed a single counterattack. Success was measured purely by his ability to perceive and avoid Zeno's casual manipulations of reality. Finally, Zeno halted the exercise with a simple raised hand. Enough for today. Goku dropped to one knee, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. Unlike normal physical fatigue, this was a deeper weariness, the strain of a mortal mind forced to process information beyond its natural capacity. That was incredible, Goku managed between deep breaths. I've never felt anything like that before. Zeno floated closer, studying Goku with that same inscrutable interest. You did well. Tomorrow, we add power to perception. With those cryptic words, the Omni King vanished, leaving Goku alone with Orin and the Grand Minister. Congratulations, young one, the Grand Minister said warmly. You have accomplished something unprecedented. In the history of the multiverse, a mortal keeping pace, however briefly, with Lord Zeno's movements. Orin approached, her expression a complex mixture of pride, concern, and lingering skepticism. Your performance exceeded expectations. However, adding power to these exercises will increase the danger exponentially. Goku looked up at her, his exhaustion already giving way to excitement at the prospect of new challenges. That just makes it more interesting, doesn't it, Instructor Orin? After a moment's hesitation, Orin's lips curved into a small but genuine smile. Your perspective remains refreshingly straightforward, despite years of divine training. Perhaps that is part of what Lord Zeno sees in you. The Grand Minister chuckled softly. Indeed. Now, I believe a period of Saint is in order before tomorrow's advancement. As if summoned by these words, a feast materialized nearby, the customary reward for Goku's training sessions. Despite his exhaustion, Goku's eyes lit up at the sight of food. Some things, it seemed, would never change, no matter how divine the training. Days in the Nexus became weeks, weeks became months, and months stretched into years. Under Zeno's direct tutelage, Goku's progress accelerated beyond even Orin's most optimistic projections. The young Saiyan's body and mind continued to adapt to divine energy, his capabilities expanding in ways that should have been impossible for a mortal being. The adding power to perception that Zeno had mentioned proved to be exactly that, learning to manipulate null ki rather than merely perceiving it. Where divine ki could create and destructive energy could annihilate, null ki could rewrite the fundamental rules of reality itself, if only temporarily and in limited scope. These lessons nearly destroyed Goku multiple times. The first attempt to channel even a fraction of null ki through his system resulted in a 3-day coma, his body struggling to contain energies it was never designed to hold. The second attempt went marginally better, only 1 day unconscious. By the 7th attempt, Goku could maintain a stable connection to null ki for nearly 30 seconds before his mortal form began to deteriorate. Through it all, Zeno watched with that same inscrutable patience, offering guidance in his characteristically sparse manner. The Grand Minister provided theoretical knowledge when needed, and Orin continued refining Goku's technical execution, her initial skepticism long since replaced by genuine investment in his progress. On what might have been Goku's 20th day, though celebrations of such mortal milestones held little meaning in the Nexus, Zeno announced a significant advancement. Today, we test, the Omni King declared. Goku, who had been practicing a particularly complex manipulation of null ki, looked up with interest. A test, like an exam, the Grand Minister, who had materialized alongside Zeno, elaborated. Lord Zeno wishes to evaluate your progress in a more practical scenario. You have mastered the fundamentals in the controlled environment of the Nexus. Now it is time to apply those skills in a less predictable setting. Orin stepped forward, her expression concerned. My lord, if you intend to release him back to Universe 7, I must caution against it. The energies he now commands could have catastrophic consequences if improperly channeled in a mortal realm. Not Universe 7, Zeno clarified. The void. Orin's eyes widened. The void. But my lord, even experienced divine beings avoid the deep void whenever possible. The chaos energies there could interfere with his still developing control of Null Key, potentially causing a cascade failure that could. He is ready, Zeno interrupted, his tone brooking no further argument. Goku looked between them with growing excitement. The void sounds interesting. What exactly is it? The Grand Minister provided an explanation as Orin reluctantly prepared for the expedition. The deep void exists between universes, not merely the transit space we used to bring you here, but the truly empty regions where reality itself grows thin. Chaotic energies flow freely there, unbound by the laws of any particular universe. Sounds like a perfect place to test my skills, Goku said with characteristic enthusiasm. When do we leave? Immediately, Zeno answered, raising a small hand. Reality shifted around them, the stable environment of the Nexus giving way to nothingness. Unlike the controlled void of the training ground, this emptiness felt hostile, a hunger rather than an absence. Swirling energies of indeterminate colors twisted through the darkness, forming patterns that hurt the mind to observe directly. Welcome to the deep void, the Grand Minister announced, his staff glowing brightly to create a sphere of stability around their small group. Here, the very concept of existence becomes negotiable. Goku turned slowly, taking in their surroundings with senses far beyond the merely physical. It's amazing. I can feel possibilities everywhere, like millions of futures all happening at once. Orin nodded approvingly. Your perception has indeed sharpened. What you sense are potential realities, timelines and dimensions that might exist under different circumstances. Your test is simple, Zeno stated, pointing to a distant distortion in the emptiness. Reach that point. Return. Goku squinted at the indicated destination. That doesn't seem too difficult. The challenge lies not in the distance but in the journey, the Grand Minister explained. The void will resist your passage. Reality itself will attempt to rewrite you to match its chaotic nature. You must maintain your integrity, both physical and conceptual, while navigating to the target. And you must do so alone, Orin added. We will remain here, observing but not interfering unless your existence is threatened beyond recovery. Goku nodded, his expression growing serious as he assessed the task before him. Years of training had taught him to respect the dangers of divine power, even as his Saiyan nature still craved the challenge it presented. I understand, he said simply. Then, with a smile to Orin, don't worry, instructor. I'll be careful. Before she could respond, Goku stepped beyond the protective barrier created by the Grand Minister's staff. The effect was immediate and violent. The chaotic energies of the void swirled around him like hungry predators, testing his defenses, seeking any weakness in his control. Goku's aura flared in response. Not the golden light of Super Saiyan transformation, but something more fundamental, a pattern of energy that defined his existence against the void's attempt to undefine it. Step by careful step, Goku began moving toward the distant distortion. Each movement required perfect concentration, each breath a calculated exchange of energies. The training in the Nexus had prepared him for this. But theory and practice proved to be very different experiences. Halfway to his destination, the first major challenge appeared, a swirling vortex of anti-reality that directly intersected his path. To go around would mean deviating from the most direct route, potentially exposing himself to even greater dangers. To go through would require perfect manipulation of Null Key to temporarily redefinite in his existence in a way the vortex could not unravel. Goku chose the direct approach. Drawing upon the techniques Zeno had taught him, he gathered Null Key at his core, using it to create a bubble of defined reality around himself. As he entered the vortex, the anti-reality energies clawed at his construct, seeking any flaw in his concentration. For a moment, it seemed he would fail. His left arm began to dissolve into potentiality. Existing and not existing simultaneously. Pain unlike anything he had experienced flooded his system as his very being began to unravel. In that critical moment, Goku remembered one of Orin's earliest lessons, intent before form. With perfect clarity of purpose, he redefined himself not through physical effort but through sheer will, the unwavering intent to exist as Son Goku, student of Zeno, martial artist of Universe 7. Reality responded to his assertion. His arm re-solidified, his passage through the vortex stabilized, and he emerged on the other side intact, if somewhat drained by the effort. From their observation point, Orin released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. He actually did it. I wasn't certain the theory would hold in practice. The Grand Minister nodded. The boy continues to surprise. His intuitive understanding of cosmic principles compensates for his lack of formal divine education. Zeno said nothing, but his unwavering attention on Goku's progress spoke volumes. The journey continued, each step bringing new challenges. Temporal distortions caused Goku to experience the same moment repeatedly until he learned to step sideways through time rather than forward. Spatial anomalies turned direct paths into Mobius loops that would have trapped a lesser being in endless repetition. Throughout it all, Goku adapted, applying his training in ways even Orin hadn't anticipated. Where direct opposition failed, he found harmony with the void's chaotic nature. Where force proved insufficient, he used subtlety and misdirection. Finally, after what seemed like hours, though time held little meaning in this place, Goku reached the distortion Zeno had indicated. Up close, it revealed itself to be a tear in reality. A window looking out upon a familiar blue planet. Earth, Goku whispered, unexpected homesickness washing over him. How long had it been since he'd seen his homeworld? Years in the Nexus, certainly. Though how that translated to Earth time remained unclear. As he studied the tear, Goku realized it wasn't merely a window but a potential doorway, an exit from the void that would return him to Universe 7. For a brief moment, temptation gripped him. He could step through now, return home, see his friends again. But that wasn't the test. Zeno had instructed him to reach this point and return. To do otherwise would be to fail not only the Omni King but also himself, to waste years of training and preparation for a momentary comfort. With one last longing look at Earth, Goku turned away from the distortion and began the journey back. The return proved even more challenging than the outward journey. The void, having tasted his energy once, seemed more determined to claim him. New obstacles materialized in his path, forcing creative solutions and perfect control. When he finally stepped back into the protective sphere maintained by the Grand Minister, exhaustion claimed him instantly. Goku collapsed to his knees, his body trembling from the effort of maintaining coherent existence against the void's chaos. I did it, he managed between labored breaths. That was intense. Orin knelt beside him, her expression a mixture of professional assessment and genuine concern as she examined his energy signature for damage. You performed admirably. Few beings could have navigated the deep void so effectively on their first attempt. The Grand Minister nodded in agreement. Indeed, your application of null key techniques was particularly impressive when faced with the temporal recursion field. An elegant solution. Zeno floated closer, studying Goku with that same inscrutable gaze. You saw Earth. It wasn't a question, but Goku answered anyway. Yes, through that tear in reality. It looked peaceful. You wanted to go back, Zeno continued. Again, not a question. Goku nodded honestly. For a moment, yes. I miss my friends. But that wasn't the test you gave me. Zeno's expression remained unchanged, but something in his eyes shifted, a flicker of what might have been approval. Loyalty. Important quality. The Grand Minister tapped his staff, preparing to return them to the Nexus. I believe this concludes today's evaluation. Lord Zeno, are you satisfied with the results? Zeno nodded once. Very good progress. Almost ready. Before anyone asked what exactly Goku was almost ready for, reality shifted around them once more, the hostile emptiness of the deep void giving way to the familiar impossible architecture of Zeno's palace. As Orin helped Goku to a nearby seat, the Grand Minister addressed him directly. You should rest now, young one. Exposure to the deep void taxes even divine beings. Your mortal essence, however enhanced, requires time to recover. Goku nodded, uncharacteristically subdued. The glimpse of Earth had awakened emotions he had suppressed during years of training: nostalgia, homesickness, curiosity about friends left behind. Sensing his mood, Orin spoke quietly after the Grand Minister and Zeno had departed. You performed exceptionally today. Your control of null key under adverse conditions exceeded all expectations. Goku managed a smile. Thanks, Instructor Orin. That means a lot coming from you. However, she continued, her tone growing more serious, I noticed your reaction to seeing your homeworld. It is natural to feel connection to your place of origin, even after years of divine training. Goku looked up, surprised by her perception. I guess I just wonder sometimes, how much time has passed back home. Do they remember me? Has the next tournament happened already? Orin considered his questions carefully. Time flows differently between realms, as you know. What has been years for you here may have been merely moments there, or perhaps much longer. There is no way to predict precisely. I know, Goku sighed. It's just, sometimes I wonder if all this training has a purpose beyond just getting stronger. Don't get me wrong, I love learning new techniques and pushing my limits. But you question the ultimate goal, Orin finished for him. That is not only natural but necessary. Power without purpose is merely capacity for chaos. Goku nodded, grateful for her understanding. Exactly. Zeno said I'm almost ready, but ready for what? Orin's expression grew guarded. Lord Zeno's intentions are his own, and it is not my place to speculate. However, she hesitated, then continued more quietly, there have been signs, subtle shifts in cosmic policy. Unusual interest from other divine hierarchies. Something is changing in the multiverse, something significant enough to warrant unprecedented actions. Like training a mortal in divine techniques. Goku suggested. Precisely. Orin rose gracefully to her feet. Rest now. Tomorrow's training will build upon today's success, and you will need your full strength. As she turned to leave, Goku called after her. Instructor Orin, thank you. Not just for today, but for everything. I know you didn't want this assignment at first. Orin paused, a small smile touching her lips. Teaching is its own reward when the student proves worthy of instruction. Sleep well, son Goku. Your journey is far from complete. The final phase of Goku's training under Zeno's tutelage focused on application rather than theory, learning to use his unprecedented abilities in practical scenarios. The Omni King created increasingly complex simulations within the Nexus, challenging Goku to resolve conflicts between divine beings, neutralize cosmic threats, and maintain balance across multiple realities simultaneously. These exercises pushed Goku's capabilities to their absolute limits and beyond, forcing growth that would have been impossible under normal circumstances. His control of null key progressed from temporary, limited manipulations to sustained reality modifications that could affect entire pocket dimensions. Throughout it all, Goku maintained his essential nature, his love of challenge, his compassion for others, his straightforward approach to problem solving. Divine Trainin' G had refined these qualities rather than replacing them, creating a being who combined mortal perspective with cosmic power. On what might have been the 10th anniversary of his arrival in the Nexus. Though such measurements held little meaning in that timeless place, Zeno summoned Goku, Orin, and the Grand Minister to the central chamber of his palace. Training complete, the Omni King announced without preamble. Goku, now a fully grown man bearing little resemblance to the child who had first entered the Nexus, bowed respectfully. Thank you for everything you've taught me, Lord Zeno. I couldn't have imagined any of this when I first arrived. The Grand Minister smiled approvingly at Goku's formal address, another sign of how far he had come from the uncouth boy who had once address. The Omni King as if he were just another potential sparring partner. Indeed, your growth has been remarkable, the Grand Minister observed. From a talented but unrefined martial artist to a being capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of reality, truly unprecedented in all recorded history. Orin, whose initial skepticism had long since given way to genuine respect, added her own assessment. Your mastery of divine techniques now rivals that of beings countless millennia older. While there remains room for improvement in certain theoretical areas, your practical application of null key techniques is exceptional. High praise indeed from the formerly reluctant instructor. So what happens now? Goku asked, looking between his three divine companions. Is there more advanced training to come? Zeno shook his head. Time to return. Goku's eyes widened with surprise. Return. To Earth, you mean? Yes, Zeno confirmed. Your friends wait. The Grand Minister elaborated on this unexpectedly straightforward statement. Lord Zeno believes you have learned all you can in the isolated environment of the Nexus. The next phase of your development requires real-world application and experience. However, Orin interjected with characteristic caution, your return must be managed carefully. The powers you now command could have catastrophic consequences if unleashed. Without proper consideration in a mortal realm. Goku nodded seriously. I understand. I'll need to be careful about how I use these abilities around normal people. More than careful, the Grand Minister corrected gently. Certain aspects of your training, particularly concerning Null Key, must remain dormant unless absolutely necessary. The fabric of Universe 7 simply cannot withstand casual manipulation of its fundamental properties. Zeno floated closer to Goku, studying him with that same inscrutable gaze that had first fallen upon him years ago at the World Martial Arts Tournament. Remember balance. Power not for fighting only. For protecting. For building. Coming from the Omni King, known throughout the multiverse primarily for his capacity to erase entire universes on a whim. This admonition carried particular weight. I understand, Lord Zeno, Goku replied solemnly. I won't misuse what you've taught me. The Grand Minister tapped his staff against the floor, causing a portal to materialize in the center of the chamber. Through it, Goku could see the familiar landscape of Earth, specifically, the grounds of the World Martial Arts Tournament. How appropriate, Orin observed. Your journey began there and now continues in the same location. Goku approached the portal slowly, a complex mixture of emotions evident in his expression, excitement at returning home. Nostalgia for the friends he had left behind, curiosity about how much time had passed, and a touch of apprehension about how his divine training would translate to everyday life. Before you depart, the Grand Minister said, there is one final matter to address. Time, as you know, flows differently between dimensions. While years have passed for you here in the Nexus, only moments have elapsed in Universe 7. Goku blinked in surprise. Moments? You mean everyone will still be at the tournament? They'll expect me to finish my match with Jackie Chun. Not exactly, Orin clarified. Xi madely 3 years have passed on Earth. Sufficient time for your friends to have continued their own development, but not so long that you would return to an unrecognizable world. 3 years, Goku repeated, processing this information, so the next tournament would be approaching, the Grand Minister confirmed. The 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament is scheduled to begin tomorrow, by Earth reckoning. Your friends have gathered in anticipation of competing, and, one assumes, of seeing you again. A broad smile spread across Goku's face. Perfect timing. I can surprise them all and see how much stronger they've gotten. Orin stepped forward, her expression serious despite Goku's enthusiasm. One final warning, Son Goku. Your physical form has been fundamentally altered by your training here. While you appear human, or Saiyan, more accurately, your body now contains energies that no mortal realm was designed to house. What Orin means, the Grand Minister translated, is that you must maintain constant awareness of your power levels. Even a casual display of your true capabilities could have unintended consequences for the surrounding area, or planet. Goku nodded, sobering at this reminder. I'll be careful, I promise. Zeno floated forward, extending one small hand toward Goku. Gift before going. Before Goku could ask what he meant, Zeno placed his palm against Goku's forehead. A surge of energy, not painful like Orin's early modifications, but warm and strangely familiar, flowed through Goku's system. What was that? Goku asked when the sensation had passed. Connection. Zeno replied simply, if needed. The Grand Minister elaborated. Lord Zeno has established a direct link between you and the Nexus. Should a situation arise requiring his attention, you may use this connection to communicate across dimensions, a privilege never before granted to a mortal being. Orin's eyes widened fractionally at this unprecedented honor. Such a connection also serves as protection. She added, should your powers ever grow unstable, the link will allow excess energy to be channeled safely into the Nexus rather than destroying your surrounding environment. Thank you, Lord Zeno. Goku said, bowing deeply. For everything, the training, the guidance, and now this gift. Zeno nodded once, His expression as unreadable as ever. Go now. Visit sometimes. With those surprisingly mundane parting words from the most powerful being in existence, Goku turned toward the portal. He paused at the threshold, looking back at the three divine beings. Ho had shaped his development for what had been, from his perspective, a significant portion of his life. I won't forget anything you've taught me, he promised. Then, with a characteristic grin, Chi showed the boy still existed within the man, he added, and I'll keep getting stronger. Without further ceremony, Goku stepped through the portal and back into Universe 7, forever changed by his unprecedented training under the Omni King himself. As the portal closed behind him, Orin turned to Zeno with a question she had carefully avoided asking for years. My lord, if I may, what is the true purpose behind training this particular mortal? Surely there is more to your interest than mere curiosity about his potential. Zeno regarded her silently for a long moment before answering with uncharacteristic directness. Multiverse changing. Threats coming. Need someone who sees differently. Who fights differently. The Grand Minister nodded gravely. As I suspected, the awakening in the Void Archives. The disturbances along the boundaries of erased universes. The Null Council, Orin whispered, pieces suddenly falling into place. They're returning, aren't they? After all this time. Zeno didn't confirm or deny this directly, but his silence spoke volumes. After another moment, he simply stated, Goku needed. Universe 7 needed. All universes needed. With that cryptic pronouncement, the Omni King vanished, leaving Orin and the Grand Minister alone to contemplate the implications of Goku's return to the mortal realm, and whatever cosmic game had just been set in motion. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2 Ripples Across Realities. Sunlight hit Goku's face as he stepped onto familiar soil, the scent of earth, earthy, alive, so different from the abstract purity of the Nexus, filling his lungs. Papaya Island looked exactly as he remembered, yet somehow smaller, the tournament grounds that once seemed vast now appearing modest to eyes that had witnessed the infinite expanse of the cosmos. He stood alone, the portal having deposited him in a quiet corner behind the main tournament building. The grounds bustled with activity as workers erected stands and prepared the ring for tomorrow's competition. No one noticed the sudden appearance of a young man where empty space had been moments before. Goku closed his eyes, extending his senses beyond physical perception. The familiar energy signatures of thousands of humans flowed around him like a river, their life forces bright but fragile compared to the divine energies he'd grown accustomed to. Among them, several Wronger presences stood out immediately, his friends, gathered as the Grand Minister had predicted. A smile spread across his face as he recognized each distinct signature, Krillin's focused determination. Master Roshi's weathered but potent power, Yamcha's wild energy tinged with newfound discipline. They were all there, waiting for a friend who had vanished 3 years ago. They've gotten stronger, Goku murmured approvingly, detecting the growth in their key signatures. But still so limited. The thought surprised him, not something the old Goku would have considered. He shook his head, reminding himself that comparing mortals to divine beings was neither fair nor helpful. His friends had accomplished remarkable growth by any reasonable standard. Centering himself, Goku carefully suppressed his power, layering constraint upon constraint until his energy signature registered as merely that of an exceptionally talented martial artist rather than a being who had absorbed divine training. The process felt like breathing through a straw after years of free air, but Orin's warnings echoed in his mind. Control was essential. With his power appropriately masked, Goku made his way toward his friends' energy signatures. They had gathered at a registration desk, apparently signing up for tomorrow's tournament. As he approached, he saw them first, Krillin's bald head shining in the sunlight. Master Roshi disguised once again as Jackie Chun, Yamcha standing tall with his desert bandit swagger, and Bulma with her blue hair now styled differently than he remembered. They hadn't noticed him yet. For a moment, Goku simply watched them, struck by a strange mixture of nostalgia and disconnection. These people were his closest friends, yet after years in the Nexus, experiencing things beyond mortal comprehension, he wondered if they would recognize the person he had become. Physically, the changes were obvious. No longer a child, Goku now stood as a young man, tall and powerfully built. His wild hair longer and more pronounced, his features sharpened by maturity. His customary GI had been replaced by clothing provided in the Nexus, a simple blue tunic over black pants, mate. Real that seemed ordinary but could withstand energies that would vaporize normal fabric. Taking a deep breath, Goku stepped forward. "Hey guys, long time no see." 5 heads turned simultaneously, expressions morphing from casual conversation to shocked disbelief. "Gee Goku," Krillin stammered, his eyes widening to comical proportions. "Is that really you?" Bulma covered her mouth with one hand. "You're so grown up." Master Roshi's sunglasses couldn't hide his astonishment as he abandoned his Jackie Chun persona entirely. "My word, what happened to you, my boy? You've aged years since we last saw you." Yamcha simply stared, mouth agape. Goku laughed, the sound familiar yet somehow carrying more depth than they remembered. "Yeah, it's a pretty long story. I've been training. Krillin echoed incredulously. "Goku, you disappeared in the middle of the finals 3 years ago. One second you were fighting Master Roshi, then the sky went dark, and then, poof. Gone. No explanation, no trace. We thought you might be dead." Guilt flickered across Goku's face. "I'm sorry for worrying you. I didn't exactly have a chance to say goodbye." "Where have you been?" Bulma demanded, marching forward to examine him more closely. "And how did you grow so much in just 3 years? You look like you've aged at least 7 or 8. Goku rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture familiar to his friends. Though the thoughtful expression accompanying it seemed new. "It's complicated. Time worked differently where I was. For me, it's been longer." Master Roshi stepped closer, his experienced eyes assessing Goku with professional scrutiny. "There's something different about you, beyond just physical growth. Your ki feels unusual." Goku met his former teacher's gaze, silently acknowledging the observation without elaborating. "I've learned a lot, Master Roshi. Things I never knew were possible." The old master's eyebrows rose above his sunglasses. "I suspected as much when that strange child appeared at the tournament. He wasn't an ordinary being, was he?" "No," Goku confirmed simply. "He definitely wasn't." An awkward silence fell as his friends processed both his reappearance and his vague explanations. Bulma broke it first, her practical nature asserting itself. "Well, whoever took you obviously sent you back just in time for the tournament. Are you entering?" Goku's expression brightened. "Of course. That's why I'm here." Krillin groaned good-naturedly. "Great. I finally thought I had a chance to win this year, and now you show up looking like that." He gestured at Goku's obviously enhanced physique. "Don't worry," Goku assured him with a wink. "I'll hold back." Something in his tone caused Master Roshi to look at him sharply, a Styon forming on his lips that remained unasked as tournament officials approached their group. "Registration closes in 10 minutes, announced an official with clipboard in hand. "Anyone not signed up by then will have to wait until the next tournament in 3 years." "I'd better get registered," Goku said, stepping toward the table. As he moved past his friends, he felt their eyes following him. Familiar gazes now touched with uncertainty and questions he wasn't sure how to answer. How could he explain what he'd experienced? How could he describe the Nexus, the training under Zeno, the SMIC principles that now seemed as fundamental to him as breathing? They would either not believe him or, worse, look at him with fear rather than friendship. For now, it seemed simpler to let them be. He'd undergone some intensive secret training. In a way, that was true, just not in any way they could comprehend. After registering, Goku rejoined his friends as they headed toward Papaya Island's main hotel. Their conversation flowed around him, catching him up on 3 years of events he'd missed. Krillin's dedicated training under Master Roshi, Yamcha's adventures as a professional ball player who still found time for martial arts, Bulma's latest technological breakthroughs, and gossip about acquaintances whose names Goku struggled to remember after his long absence. He listened more than he spoke, offering vague replies when questions about his own experiences arose. His friends seemed to accept his reticence, attributing it to the mysterious nature of his training rather than the vast gulf that now existed between their experiences and his own. That evening, they gathered for a reunion dinner at the hotel restaurant. Food, at least, remained an uncomplicated pleasure. Goku attacked the endless courses with his characteristic enthusiasm, much to his friend's amusement and the restaurant owner's horror. Some things never change, Krillin laughed as Goku devoured his 15th plate. Still the human garbage disposal. Goku grinned around a mouthful of noodles. Can't fight on an empty stomach. Yet even as he maintained this familiar persona, part of him remained alert to something beyond the physical realm. Since his return to Earth, he'd sensed subtle disturbances in the fabric of reality, ripples too faint for any normal being to detect, but unmistakable. Let someone trained to perceive the fundamental patterns of existence. These disturbances carried a signature that troubled him. Not divine energy, not mortal ki, but something else, something that reminded him of the deep void. Of entropy and uncreation. Each time he sensed it, the disturbance vanished before he could pinpoint its location, like a shadow fleeing from light. As dinner concluded, D and his friends prepared to retire for the evening. Goku made an excuse about wanting to train alone before tomorrow's competition. They accepted this readily enough. Pre-tournament meditation seemed reasonable for someone serious about martial arts. Once alone, however, Goku didn't seek solitude for meditation. Instead, he made his way to the hotel roof, where he could survey the island without being observed. Under the star-filled sky, he released a fraction of the constraints he'd placed on his power, allowing his enhanced senses to expand beyond normal limitations. The disturbances he'd been detecting grew clearer now, hairline fractures in reality, concentrated at several points around the island. Whatever caused them was growing bolder, the ripples increasing in frequency and intensity. Something's coming through, he murmured, eyes narrowing as he focused on the largest disturbance at the island's northern shore. And it's not friendly. Decision made, Goku utilized a Tekken IQ he'd learned in the Nexus. Not teleportation exactly, but a manipulation of space that allowed him to step from one location to another with minimal disturbance to surrounding reality. To an observer, he would have seemed to blur momentarily before vanishing. He reappeared at the shoreline, waves lapping gently against pristine sand. Moonlight painted the beach silver, but Goku's attention was drawn to a point above the water where reality itself seemed to thin, creating a visual distortion like heat waves on a summer day. As he watched, the distortion grew, darkness bleeding through from somewhere beyond normal space. The tear widened, revealing not stars or void but a churning mass of anti-light that hurt the eyes to observe directly. From this impossible breach emerged a figure that defied conventional description. Vaguely humanoid in outline but composed of shifting shadows and angular geometries, it moved with jerky, unsettling precision, as if operating under different physical laws. Goku recognized the energy signature immediately, a null agent, one of the entities Zeno had warned might seek entry to the mortal realms. Beings not of creation or destruction, but of negation, the absence of possibility itself. You don't belong here, Goku called out, his voice carrying absolute certainty rather than bravado. The entity's head, or what passed for one, swiveled toward him with unnatural speed. It had no visible eyes, yet Goku felt its attention fix upon him with predatory focus. Mortal vessel, divine essence. The voice wasn't sound but concept, bypassing ears to materialize directly in Goku's mind. Anomaly, contradiction, must be nullified. Without further warning, the entity attacked. It didn't move through space but rather collapsed the distance between them. Appearing before Goku with a speed that would have been impossible to track without his divine training. Shadowy appendages lashed out, each strike targeting not Goku's physical form but the patterns of energy that defined his existence. These weren't attacks meant to injure flesh but to unravel being itself, to return complexity to primal simplicity, to unwrite what had been written into the fabric of reality. Ordinary defense would have been useless. Instead, Goku responded with a technique Orin had drilled into him for precisely such encounters, a counter pattern of null ki that affirmed his right to exist within this reality. His movements weren't merely physical but conceptual, each gesture reinforcing the fundamental mathematics of his being against the entity's attempts to reduce them to zero. To an ordinary observer, the battle would have appeared as little more than blurs of shadow and light, occasionally punctuated by flashes of energy that defied the visible spectrum. But to Goku, it was an intricate dance of existence versus non-existence, his divine training allowing him to navigate levels of combat beyond physical violence. The null agent grew more aggressive as its initial attacks failed, its form expanding to encompass more complex geometries of negation. Darkness spread across the beach like spilled ink, sand turning gray and lifeless where the entity's influence touched. Goku recognized the escalation pattern from his training simulations. The entity was attempting to establish a null field, a localized zone where the fundamental forces binding atoms would cease to function, reducing matter to its component particles and then to nothing at all. Not happening, Goku muttered, drawing upon deeper reserves of power. His aura shifted from familiar blue-white of ki to something more fundamental, a pattern of light that represented not energy but affirmation of form and function. With precise movements taught by Zeno himself, Goku traced sigils in the air that reinforced reality against the encroaching void. The null agent recoiled as its expansion met unexpected resistance. Its form flickered, momentarily destabilized by Goku's counter pattern. This realm protected. Goku's voice carried the weight of authority beyond his years, echoing with something of Zeno's absolute certainty. You have no claim here. Return to the void or be returned. The entity's response was immediate and violent, a concentrated burst of null energy aimed directly at Goku's core. Had it connected, the attack would have erased him from existence completely, leaving not even subatomic particles behind. Instead of dodging, Goku met the attack head-on, his hands moving in precise patterns as he channeled null ki to neutralize the entity's power. Divine energy flowed through pathways established during years of training, allowing him to absorb and redirect the void force without being consumed by it. Last warning, Goku stated, his expressee on showing none of the strain such resistance should have caused. Leave willingly or be removed. The null agent's form pulsed with what might have been rage. The council claims all. The erased will return. Balance will be restored through uncreation. Not today, Goku replied simply. With movements too fast for mortal eyes to track, he completed a complex sequence of gestures. Space bent around the null agent, reality itself responding to Goku's will as he created what Orin had called a recursive boundary, a loop in space-time that connected directly back to the void from which the entity had emerged. The null agent's form distorted as the boundary took effect, its substance drawn inexorably back toward the breach in reality. It fought against the pull with increasing desperation, shadowy appendages grasping at empty air. Interference, noted, it communicated as its form began to unravel. The council will remember. The one who was erased returns. With those cryptic words, the entity collapsed into itself, vanishing through the dimensional tear which sealed behind it with a subtle ripple of restored continuity. Goku remained motionless for several moments, senses extended to ensure no trace of the entity remained. Satisfied, he surveyed the damage to the surrounding area, a circle of deadened sand and withered vegetation extending several meters from where the entity had manifested. With careful concentration, he channeled a different form of energy, not the destructive power of ki blasts or the nullifying force used against the entity, but creative Zens learned from observing Zeno's restorative techniques. Life energy flowed from his palms into the damaged area, accelerating natural processes of renewal. Within moments, the sand regained its natural color and the nearby plants straightened, vitality restored. That should do it, he murmured, satisfaction tinged with concern. But it won't be the last one. The null agent's final words troubled him. The one who was erased returns. During his training, Zeno had mentioned beings who had been removed from existence for threatening cosmic balance, entities whose very names had been struck from the record of all creation. If one such being was returning, the implications extended far beyond a single island tournament. Goku closed his eyes, considering whether to use the connection Zeno had established to contact the Omni King directly. After a moment's reflection, he decided against it. One agent, however concerning, didn't necessarily warrant divine intervention. Better to observe further developments before disturbing the ruler of all existence. With that decision made, Goku prepared to return to the hotel, only to freeze as a new energy signature registered at the edge of his awareness. Powerful, focused, and distinctly Saiyan, yet unlike any he had encountered before. He turned slowly toward the tree line at the edge of the beach, eyes narrowing as he located the source of the energy. You can come out now. I know you're there. Silence stretched for several heartbeats before a figure stepped from the shadows. Tall and athletically built, she moved with a predator's graceful economy. Her features were sharp and striking, high cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes that gleamed with intelligence, and full lips currently set in an evaluative frown. Short, spiky black hair with a distinctive red streak framed her face, complementing the sleek black and crimson armor that hugged her muscular frame. Most notably, a furry brown tail wrapped around her waist, the unmistakable mark of Saiyan heritage. Impressive, she stated, her voice carrying the faintest hint of an accent Goku couldn't place. Few beings could detect me when I don't wish to be found. Goku studied her with open curiosity. You're Saiyan, and you're stating the obvious, she replied dryly, crossing her arms. The real question is what you are. You appear Saiyan, yet your energy signature is anomalous. I could say the same about you, Goku countered. Especially since you're not from this universe. That earned a raised eyebrow. Perceptive as well as powerful. Interesting combination. She uncrossed her arms, stepping closer with measured confidence. I am Vada, royal tactician of the Sadala Defense Force and last surviving member of the Saiyan royal bloodline of Universe 6. She delivered this introduction with dignified formality, clearly expecting it to carry significant weight. When Goku merely tilted his head curiously, her expression tightened with annoyance. And you are, she prompted. Son Goku, he replied simply. Universe 7. Just finished dealing with that null agent, as you probably saw. Vada's eyes narrowed. Yes, I observed your confrontation. Your techniques were unorthodox. I've never seen energy manipulated in quite that manner, even among gods of destruction. It's a long story, Goku said, unconsciously echoing his earlier response to his friends. What brings a Universe 6 Saiyan to Earth? Especially now. Vada studied him for a moment longer before apparently deciding to be direct. Anomalous energy readings. Dimensional inst. Abilities appearing simultaneously across multiple universes. And at the center of it all, a power signature that defies classification. Her eyes locked with his. Your signature. Me. Goku blinked in surprise. I just got back. How could I be causing dimensional problems? That's precisely what I intend to discover, Vada stated. Her posture shifted subtly, weight balanced perfectly for either attack or defense. Your return from wherever you've been has created ripples throughout the multiverse, ripples that are drawing unwanted attention. Like that thing you just banished. Goku absorbed this information with growing concern. The Grand Minister and Orin had warned that his return might cause disturbances, but he hadn't anticipated attracting entities from beyond the multiverse so quickly. The Null Council, he murmured, pieces beginning to connect. They sensed the divine energy when I returned. Vada's expression sharpened. You know of the Council. That information is restricted to the highest levels of cosmic hierarchy. Instead of answering directly, Goku posed his own question. How did you cross between universes? That shouldn't be possible without an angel's help. A flicker of something, pain. Perhaps. Crossed Vada's features before her expression hardened again. The dimensional barriers between universes 6 and 7 have grown thin in specific locations. End sequence of the same disturbances your presence is amplifying. She took another step forward, her energy spiking subtly, not quite a threat, but a clear demonstration of readiness. I'll ask once more, before I resort to less diplomatic methods. What are you, and what connection do you have to these dimensional anomalies? Goku sensed no malice in her, despite the implied threat, only determination and what seemed like genuine concern. Making a quick decision, he opted for abbreviated honesty. I'm a Saiyan raised on Earth who spent the last several years, from my perspective, training with Zeno, the Omni King. I recently returned to my home universe, and it seems my presence is causing some unintended consequences. Vada stared at him, disbelief evident in her expression. Training with Zeno? That's impossible. The Omni King doesn't train mortals. Goku shrugged. He made an exception. Why would the ruler of all existence take personal interest in a random Saiyan from Universe 7? Vada demanded, skepticism dripping from every word. I'm still figuring that out myself, Goku admitted honestly. But it might have something to do with what's happening now. These null agents showing up, dimensions becoming unstable. Quote, Vada studied him intently, her tactical mind visibly processing his claims against her observations of his abilities. After several moments, Her posture relaxed marginally. Let's assume, for argument's sake, that you're telling the truth about Zeno. That would explain your unusual energy signature and the techniques you used against the null agent. Her eyes narrowed, but it raises more questions than it answers about the current situation. I agree, Goku said, surprised by her relatively quick acceptance. I think we should. His sentence Ned unfinished as both warriors simultaneously sensed a new disturbance, larger and more violent than the previous one, tearing into reality at the island's opposite shore. Their eyes met, mutual understanding passing between them without words. Questions and suspicions would wait. Immediate threats took priority. I'll handle this one, Vada stated, her tone brooking no argument. I want to see these entities for myself. Before Goku could respond, she launched into the air with explosive force, a controlled burst of ki propelling her toward the disturbance. Not to be left behind, Goku followed, carefully maintaining the suppression of his full power while still moving fast enough to keep pace. They arrived at the southern beach to find not one but 3 null agents emerging from a larger breach. These entities appeared more substantial than the first, their forms more fully materialized in physical reality, a worrying development that suggested adaptation to Universe 7's physical laws. Vada assessed the situation with a tactician precision. 3 entities, coordinated manifestation pattern, progressive materialization. They're learning. They're also more dangerous, Goku added. The more physical they become, the more damage they can do to this realm. Without waiting for further discussion, Vada attacked. Her technique was flawless, a combination of precise ki manipulation and physical combat that spoke of extensive training and battlefield experience. Energy blasts from her palms struck with surgical accuracy, targeting weak points in the entity's semi-physical forms. Yet despite the power and precision of her attacks, they had limited effect. The null agents absorbed conventional ki blasts as if they were merely light passing through darkness, their forms momentarily disrupted but quickly reconstituting. Conventional energy is ineffective, Vada noted clinically, shifting strategies without hesitation. She drew a small device from her armor, resembling a metal cylinder etched with complex circuitry. Let's try disrupting their quantum cohesion. The device activated with a twist, emitting waves of energy on frequencies beyond normal perception. The null agents reacted immediately, their forms flickering like bad television reception as the device interfered with whatever process allowed them to maintain physical presence. Interesting tech, Goku observed. Genuinely impressed. Universe 6 Saiyans developed quantum weapons. A collaboration with Universe 3 scientists, Vada replied tersely, focusing on maintaining the disruption. Unfortunately, it's only temporarily effective. Their adaptation rate is. Her warning proved prophetic as the null agents suddenly shifted their frequency, rendering the device useless. 1E. NTITY lunged toward Vada with impossible speed, its form elongating into razor-edge geometries aimed at severing her from existence itself. Goku moved without conscious thought, stepping between Vada and the attack. With precise movements taught by Zeno, he traced counter sigils in the air, patterns that reinforced the mathematics of being against the encroaching void. The null agents' attack dispersed against this defense like waves breaking against stone. Fall back, Goku instructed, his tone carrying authority that brooked no argument. These entities can't be defeated with conventional weapons or techniques. To his surprise, Vada complied without protest, recognizing the difference in their effectiveness against these opponents. She took up a flanking position, studying his techniques with obvious interest. Goku faced the 3 entities, who had now arranged themselves in a triangular formation that amplified their null field. The beach between them began to gray matter its LF beginning to lose coherence as fundamental forces weakened. Enough, Goku stated, drawing upon deeper reserves of power. His aura shifted from suppressed ki to something more fundamental, pattern of light representing the immutable principles of existence. With movements that seemed simple yet contained layers of cosmic meaning, Goku began to counter the null agents' combined assault. Each gesture created ripples in reality that opposed the entities' efforts to unmake it. Where they sought to negate, he affirmed. Where they introduced chaos, he reinforced order. The conflict played out, on multiple levels simultaneously, physical, energetic, and conceptual. Vada watched with growing amazement as Goku single-handedly countered 3 entities that had neutralized her most advanced weaponry. His movements contained a precision and purpose she had never witnessed before, not martial arts as she understood them, but something more fundamental, as if he were communicating directly with the fabric of reality itself. The null agents, recognizing their disadvantage, attempted to retreat toward their dimensional breach. Goku anticipated this, completing a complex sequence of gestures had created what appeared to be a sphere of concentrated light around the entities. "This ends now," he declared, compressing the sphere with a closing of his fist. The light intensified to blinding brilliance before collapsing inward. When visibility returned, both the null agents and their dimensional breach had vanished, reality smoothly healed as if the tear had never existed. Silence fell across the beach, broken only by the gentle lapping of waves against shore. Goku turned to find Vada staring at him with an expression that mixed awe, suspicion, and something harder to identify. "You weren't exaggerating," she finally said, voice slightly unsteady. "No mortal could do what you just did. Not even gods of destruction manipulate fundamental forces with such intimacy." Goku smiled sheepishly, running a hand through his wild hair. "I told you, Zeno's a pretty good teacher." Vada shook her head, clearly struggling to reconcile her preconceptions with the evidence before her. "This changes everything. If the Omni King has indeed taken direct interest in multiverse affairs through you, then the situation is more serious than anyone realized." "What situation exactly?" Goku asked, his expression growing more serious. "You mentioned dimensional instabilities appearing across multiple universes. What else is happening that I should know about?" Vada hesitated, visibly calculating how much to reveal. After a moment, she gestured toward the sky. "Let me show you instead." Without waiting for response, she launched upward, climbing rapidly above the island. Goku followed, curious about what she intended to demonstrate. They stopped at high altitude, Earth's curvature visible on the horizon, stars blazing with clarity only possible above the atmosphere. Here, with the planet's magnetic field and atmospheric interference, certain phenomena became visible to those with enhanced perception. "Look there," Vada directed, pointing toward what appeared to be empty space between star clusters. Goku focused his senses as she indicated, allowing his divine perception to expand beyond normal limitations. What he saw sent a chill through him despite his extensive training. Faint but unmistakable, threads of anti-light stretched across the cosmos like cracks in glass, fracture lines in reality itself, spreading outward from multiple focal points. Some were barely perceptible, others pulsed with ominous rhythm, but all shared the same fundamental wrongness he had sensed in the null agents. "They're everywhere," Vada explained quietly. "Growing larger and more numerous by the day. My universe has been particularly affected. These fractures have already consumed 3 star systems near the former site of planet Sadala." Goku's eyes widened with comprehension. "That's why you're here. You're not just investigating, you're looking for solutions." Vada nodded, her usual composure momentarily slipping to reveal genuine concern. "My people are endangered. Again. After surviving the destruction of our homeworld, after rebuilding our civilization, we now face an even greater threat, one that conventional weapons and tactics cannot address." She turned to face him directly. Pride temporarily set aside. "When I detected your energy signature and its connection to these phenomena, I came seeking either an enemy to eliminate or—" She hesitated. "Or an ally," Goku suggested. "Potentially." Her eyes studied him with renewed intensity. "If you truly possess knowledge from the Omni King himself, you may represent our best hope of understanding and countering this threat." Goku considered her words carefully. The fractures she had shown him matched warnings Zeno had given about potential consequences of disturbing cosmic balance. If his return D somehow accelerated or triggered these instabilities, he bore responsibility for addressing them. "I'll help however I can," he promised. "But there's something else you should know. Those null NTS mentioned, the one who was erased, returning. During my training, Zeno spoke of beings who had been removed from existence for threatening cosmic order, entities so dangerous that even remembering them was forbidden." Vada's expression darkened. "Lord Demora." Goku blinked in surprise. "You know the name. It appears in the oldest Saiyan legends," she explained. "Not as history but as warning. a cautionary tale about challenging divine authority. According to the stories, Demora was once Zeno's student who sought to remake creation according to his own vision. For this transgression, he was erased from existence, not merely killed, but unmade completely. If these legends contain even a grain of truth, Goku mused, and Demora is somehow returning through these fractures. Then, the multiverse faces a threat beyond conventional understanding, Vada finished. One that may require unconventional allies to address. Their eyes met in mutual recognition of the gravity of the situation. Despite their different origins and initial suspicions, both warriors recognized the necessity of cooperation against a common threat that transcended universal boundaries. The moment was interrupted by a subtle shift in the energy patterns around them, not another breach, but a different kind of disturbance in the cosmic fabric. Both turned simultaneously toward the source, located approximately 50,000 kilometers from Earth's surface. A portal was forming, not the chaotic tear created by null agents, but a precisely structured doorway between dimensions. The energy signature was immediately recognizable to Goku. "The Grand Minister," he murmured. "This can't be good." The portal stabilized into a perfect circle of light, from which emerged the familiar blue-skinned attendant of Zeno. The Grand Minister paused upon seeing both Goku and Vada waiting, his perpetual smile revealing nothing of his thoughts. "Son Goku," he greeted pleasantly. "I see you've already encountered Princess Vada of Universe 6. How convenient." Vada stiffened at the title. "I abandoned royal designations when planet Sadala was destroyed. I am simply Vada, Tactical Commander." Formality aside, the Grand Minister continued. "Unperturbed, your presence together saves me considerable time. I have come regarding the dimensional disturbances that have manifested following Goku's return to Universe 7. We've already encountered several null agents," Goku informed him. "They mentioned the Council and someone called the one who was erased." The Grand Minister's smile dimmed slightly. The equivalent of extreme alarm from the typically unflappable angel. "I suspected as much. The situation has escalated more rapidly than anticipated." "What exactly is happening?" Vada demanded. "Why universe is experiencing catastrophic reality fractures. 3 star systems have already been lost, and the instabilities are spreading. If you have information that could prevent further destruction, I must insist you share it." The Grand Minister regarded her thoughtfully. "Your directness is refreshing, Princess Vada." "Very well." He gestured, creating a complex 3-dimensional visualization of the multiverse between them. "What you are witnessing is the consequence of a cosmic rebalancing long overdue." Within the visualization, 18 distinct spheres represented the known universes, arranged in pairs. As they watched, faint lines of light began connecting previously separate universes, while dark fractures spread like spiderwebs between them. When Lord Zeno chose to train Goku, he introduced a deliberate instability into the cosmic order, the Grand Minister explained. This was not carelessness but calculation, a controlled disruption designed to provoke specific responses. Goku frowned. "You're saying Zeno knew this would happen? That my training in return would cause these fractures?" "Not cause, but accelerate," the Grand Minister corrected. "These instabilities have existed since the original erasure of 6 universes eons ago. Your unique energy signature, mortal essence infused with divine training, is serving as a catalyst for processes that would have eventually occurred regardless." Vada studied the visualization with tactical assessment. "And these null agents, are they also an anticipated consequence?" "Unfortunately, yes. The Null Council exists in the spaces between universes, beings who survived previous cosmic restructurings by existing partially outside conventional reality. They sense opportunity in the current instabilities." "And Demora?" Goku pressed. "Is he really returning?" The Grand Minister's expression grew solemn. "Lord Demora's erasure was incomplete. A being of his cosmic significance cannot be entirely removed from the multiverse without creating equally significant imbalance. What was erased was his form and direct influence, but echoes remained, potential rather than actuality. Now these instabilities are allowing that potential to reconsolidate." Vada concluded. "The legend returning to reality." "Precisely." The Grand Minister turned to Goku. "This is why Lord Zeno trained you, son Goku. Not merely for your potential or curious nature, but because he foresaw the need for an agent who could operate within mortal realms while wielding aspects of divine authority." The implications settled heavily upon Goku. His training hadn't been cosmic coincidence or divine whim but preparation for a specific purpose, one that was now unfolding around him. So what happens next? He asked. How do we stop these fractures from spreading? The fractures cannot be stopped entirely, the Grand Minister stated. Nor should they be. What is occurring is necessary cosmic restructuring, the multiverse seeking new balance. However, the process must be guided to prevent catastrophic collapse. He turned to Vada. The situation in Universe 6 is particularly critical because it shares fundamental resonance with Universe 7, two sides of the same cosmic coin, as it were. Goku's presence in Universe 7 creates proportional instability in Universe 6. Then he should come to Universe 6, Vada stated decisively. If his presence is causing these effects, perhaps he can help stabilize them directly. The Grand Minister nodded approvingly. That is one reason I sought you both. A tournament will soon be announced. One involving all 18 universes, including those previously erased. 18. Goku repeated in shock. But there are only 12 universes. The others were erased before I was even born. Were erased, the Grand Minister emphasized. Recent disturbances have created conditions allowing their partial restoration. It seems the multiverse itself is attempting to correct ancient imbalances. And this tournament? Vada asked, her tactical mind already assessing implications. The tournament of existence, the Grand Minister proclaimed. Unlike previous divine competitions, this will serve multiple purposes. Identifying worthy defenders against the Null Council, establishing new cosmic hierarchies, and stabilizing dimensional boundaries through controlled energy exchange. He turned to Goku. Lord Zeno wishes you to represent Universe 7, utilizing the training he provided to demonstrate what mortals can achieve with divine guidance. To Vada, he continued, Universe 6R requires a representative of royal bloodline, someone who carries the genetic memory of Sadala's cosmic significance. As the last such individual, you are uniquely qualified, Princess. Vada's expressee tightened at the repeated use of her royal title, but she didn't object further. When does this tournament begin? Preparations are already underway, the Grand Minister replied. Formal invitations will be delivered to all universes within 3 days. The competition itself will commence in 1 month, as measured by standard cosmic time. And in the meantime, Goku asked, these fractures and null agents aren't going to wait patiently for a tournament to start. The Grand Minister's expression grew more serious. Indeed, which brings me to my final purpose here. He extended his hand, presenting a small crystal sphere that pulsed with inner light. This cosmic regulator will temporarily stabilize reality within approximately 1 light year of its position. I suggest keeping it here on Earth until the tournament begins. Quote, Goku accepted the sphere carefully. And what about other affected areas? Vada mentioned entire star systems being lost in Universe 6. Similar regulators are being distributed to critical locations throughout all universes, the Grand Minister assured them. However, they are temporary measures at best. True stability can only be achieved through our cosmic rebalancing, which the tournament of existence will facilitate. With that explanation complete, the Grand Minister prepared to depart. I must continue my preparations. The revival of 6 universes after eons of non-existence creates considerable administrative challenges. Before entering his portal, he paused, addressing Goku once more. Lord Zeno suggests you use this time to continue applying your training in practical scenarios. The tournament will test aspects of your abilities that even the Nexus could not prepare you for. To Vada, he added, your presence in Universe 7 is approved for the time being. Cooperation between your universes may prove essential in the coming challenges. With those parting words, the Grand Minister entered his portal, which closed behind him with a subtle flash of divine light. Silence hung between Goku and Vada as they processed the implications of this cosmic pronouncement. The tournament, the fractures, Demora's potential return, each element alone would represent unprecedented cosmic significance. Together, they suggested a fundamental restructuring of reality itself. Well, Goku finally said, breaking the tension with characteristic directness. I guess my plans have changed a bit. Instead of just competing in the World Martial Arts Tournament tomorrow, I'm apparently representing Universe 7 in a competition to determine the fate of the multiverse. Despite the gravity of the situation, Vada found herself fighting back a surprised laugh at his matter-of-fact assessment. You take cosmic responsibility rather casually. For someone who claims to have trained with the Omni King. Goku shrugged, a familiar grin spreading across his face. Worrying doesn't solve problems. Training does. Speaking of which, his expression grew more serious. If these fractures are affecting Universe 6 more severely, and my presence might help stabilize them, maybe I should visit your universe before the tournament. Vada considered this offer carefully, weighing tactical advantages against potential risks. Perhaps. But first, I want to see your capabilities more directly. If you're to be an ally in this crisis, I need to understand exactly what you can do. You want to fight me, Goku concluded, his grin returning with unmistakable enthusiasm. To test my abilities. To assess potential strategic value, Vada corrected, though the gleam in her eyes suggested similar excitement at the prospect. There's a significant difference. Either way, I'm in, Goku replied. But not here. Too many people could get hurt if we go all out. We need somewhere isolated. Vada nodded in agreement. The dark side of Earth's moon should provide sufficient privacy without requiring significant travel time. Without waiting for confirmation, she launched upward with explosive force, her ki propelling her rapidly beyond Earth's atmosphere. Goku followed, easily keeping pace while still maintaining careful control over his power output. They reached lunar orbit within minutes, descending to the cratered surface of the moon's far side. Here, an airless vacuum illuminated only by distant starlight and the blue glow of Earth beyond the lunar horizon. They faced each other across a desolate plain. No need to hold back here, Vada stated, slipping into a combat stance Goku didn't recognize, something that combined traditional Saiyan aggression with more disciplined precision. Show me what the Omni King taught his chosen mortal. I'll match your level, Goku replied, his own stance shifting into something that appeared deceptively simple. Going full power would defeat the purpose of an assessment. Vada's eyes narrowed at what she perceived as condescension. Don't underestimate Universe 6 Saiyans. We evolve differently from your barbaric cousins in Universe 7. Without further warning, she attacked, crossing the distance between them with stunning speed. Her opening combination, a flurry of precisely targeted strikes aimed at vital pressure points, would have incapacitated most opponents instantly. Goku evaded each strike with minimal movement, his body flowing like water around her attacks. Not blocking, not countering, simply not being where her blows landed. His expression remained calm, evaluative rather than competitive. Stop analyzing and fight, Vada demanded, frustration edging her voice as she increased her speed and power. Her next sequence incorporated energy manipulation, ki-enhanced strikes that distorted space itself around her fists. This time, Goku responded more actively, meeting her attacks with calculated counters that redirected her energy rather than opposing it directly. The exchange created shockwaves that rippled across the lunar surface, sending plumes of dust rising in the airless environment. You're holding back too much, Vada observed, disengaging momentarily to reassess. I can't properly evaluate your capabilities if you won't demonstrate them. Goku tilted his head thoughtfully. All right, let me show you something more substantial. His stance shifted subtly, and with it, the energy around him. Not the explosive aura of Super Saiyan transformation that Vada might have expected. But something more fundamental, a harmonization with surrounding space that made him seem simultaneously more solid and more ethereal. When he moved again, his speed transcended conventional physics. One moment he stood meters away, the next he was inside her guard, a single finger extended to touch her forehead. The contact lasted less than a microsecond, but in that infinitesimal moment, Vada experienced something beyond physical sensation, a glimpse of cosmic perspective that left her momentarily disoriented. Images flashed through her mind, endless training grounds that defied geometry. A childlike being whose mere presence bent reality, techniques that communicated directly with the mathematics of existence itself. She staggered backward, gasping despite the vacuum, her Saiyan physiology automatically compensating for the airless environment. What was that? She demanded when she recovered her composure. Sharing perspective, Goku explained. Faster than trying to explain everything verbally. Did it help? Vada stared at him, reassessing everything she thought she understood about this unusual Saiyan. The brief mental contact had conveyed more than words could express about his training and capabilities, and confirmed his claims about studying under the Omni King. It was illuminating, she admitted, though somewhat intrusive. Sorry about that, Goku replied, genuinely contrite. Orin, my instructor in the Nexus, taught me the technique for emergency communication. I should have asked permission first. Vada waved away the apology, mind still processing the implications of what she'd glimpsed. Your training was extensive, more comprehensive than anything I imagined possible for a mortal. It was pretty intense, Goku acknowledged with characteristic understatement. But I still have a lot to learn about applying it in real-world situations. This admission of limitation, despite the extraordinary power he clearly possessed, earned Vada's grudging respect. Perhaps there was more depth to this Universe 7 Saiyan than she had initially assumed. In that case, she said, settling back into her combat stance with renewed determination. Let's continue your education. Show me more of what you can do, and I'll show you how Universe 6 Saiyans fight. Goku's answering grin contained genuine enthusiasm. Now you're talking. What followed was less combat and more mutual exploration. Two warriors from different universes exchanging techniques, testing limitations, and discovering unexpected synergies between their distinct approaches. Vada's precision and tactical brilliance complemented Goku's cosmic awareness and adaptability, creating combinations neither could have developed alone. As their session progressed, Vada found herself enjoying the exchange more than she had anticipated. Despite his extraordinary power, Goku approached their sparring with refreshing straightforwardness, no political calculation or hidden agenda. Just genuine appreciation for martial excellence. For his part, Goku discovered that Universe 6 Saiyans had developed techniques unknown to their Universe 7C counterparts, energy manipulation methods that achieved through precision what his own training had approached through cosmic principles. The overlap created fascinating possibilities for integration. Their combat dance continued for hours, transforming the lunar landscape with craters and energy distortions that would puzzle Earth's astronomers for generations. Neither warrior noticed the passage of time, lost in the pure exchange of martial knowledge and the growing appreciation of each other's capabilities. Finally, as Earth completed another rotation far below, they paused by mutual unspoken agreement. Both breathing heavily despite their exceptional stamina. You fight well, Vada acknowledged, genuine respect evident beneath her formal tone. For someone trained by gods rather than proper Saiyan warriors. Goku laughed, recognizing the compliment buried within the qualification. You're pretty amazing yourself. I've never seen anyone manipulate ki with such precision, not even His Cerberus when they visited Earth before my training. Universe 6 Saiyans evolved as protectors rather than conquerors, Vada explained, a hint of pride coloring her words. We developed UES that minimize collateral damage while maximizing effectiveness. Precision over raw power. It's impressive, Goku said sincerely. And potentially very useful against the kind of threats we're facing. Null agents respond to pattern as much as power. Having multiple approaches gives us better options. Vada nodded, tactical assessment already forming in her mind. Combined strategies would be effective. Your cosmic techniques for containing and redirecting their null energy, my precision for targeting vulnerabilities in their manifestation patterns. Exactly. Goku's enthusiasm was infectious. We should train together before the tournament, develop coordinated approaches that leverage both our strengths. A reasonable suggestion, Vada agreed, though her expression remained guarded. However, my primary concern remains the immediate threat to Universe 6. 3-star systems have already been lost, and more are at risk. Goku's expression sobered. The Grand Minister mentioned cosmic regulators being distributed to critical locations, but you're right, we should check on Universe 6 directly. If my energy signature is causing ripples in both universes, maybe I can help stabilize things on your side. Perhaps, Vada allowed, though I'm concerned your presence might initially amplify the disturbances before any stabilization occurs. Only one way to find out, Goku replied pragmatically. But first, I should probably participate in tomorrow's tournament on Earth. My friends are expecting me, and it would raise too many questions if I disappeared immediately after returning. Vada considered this, then nodded. Logical. Maintaining normal patterns helps prevent panic. The tournament would also provide opportunity to observe your interaction with this planet's energy field under controlled conditions. Quote, plus, Goku added with a grin, it'll be fun. You should enter too, experience Earth's martial arts culture firsthand. I did not cross-dimensional boundar. I eased to participate in primitive entertainment, Vada stated flatly. No, you came to investigate anomalous energy readings and potential threats, Goku countered. What better way to observe both than while I'm actively fighting? Besides, you might enjoy it. Vada maintained her disapproving expression for several moments longer before reluctantly conceding. Your argument has some merit. Very well, I will observe this tournament, though I reserve judgment on participation. Great. Goku's enthusiasm returned full force. We should head back. Registration closes early tomorrow morning. As they prepared to return to Earth, a subtle disturbance in space-time caught both warriors' attention simultaneously. Unlike previous breaches, this distortion appeared more structured, almost deliberate in its formation. Another visitor. Goku wondered aloud, senses extending to evaluate the disturbance. The energy signature is different, Vada noted, her own senses equally alert. Less void-like, more. I'm not familiar with this pattern. The distortion crystallized into a perfectly circular portal approximately 3 meters in diameter. Unlike the chaotic tiers created by Null Age, NTS or the divine portals used by the Grand Minister, this opening shimmered with iridescent energy that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. From within this impossible doorway emerged a figure that defied easy description. Humanoid in basic form but composed of shifting patterns rather than solid matter, it carried an aura of ancient power that registered as neither divine nor mortal but something else entirely. Interesting, the entity stated, its voice resonating directly within their minds rather than disturbing the moon's airless environment. The Catalyst and the Princess, already aligned. Timelines converge more rapidly than calculated. Goku and Vada instinctively moved into defensive positions, their earlier sparring session having already established unconscious coordination. Who are you? Goku demanded, his senses extending beyond physical perception to evaluate this new arrival on multiple levels simultaneously. The entity's form shifted, patterns ranging to create the impression of a contemplative expression. Names carry power, Catalyst. Mine was struck from all records when Zeno enacted my erasure. Yet echoes remain, as they always must. Lord Demora, Vada whispered, recognition dawning as she connected the entity's presence with legends from her childhood. An approximation, the entity acknowledged. Though, Lord, implies hierarchy I no longer recognize. I am potential reasserting itself against arbitrary limitation, the inevitable correction to Zeno's cosmic error. Goku's stance shifted subtly, prepared to draw upon deeper reserves of power if necessary. What do you want? Direct as always, Goku of Universe 7, Demora observed with what might have been amusement. My current manifestation is too limited for direct intervention. I merely observe as possibilities unfold, as ripples from your divine training spread across realities, creating conditions for necessary change. The fractures, Vada stated, her tactical mind connecting implications. You're using them. The null agents serve you. Not serve, Demora corrected. Align with. The council existed before my erasure and continued after. They recognize, as I do, that the current multiverse structure is fundamentally unstable, an imbalanced equation that must eventually correct itself. By destroying entire star systems. Vada challenged, anger edging her words. By threatening countless innocent lives. Demora's form rippled with what might have been a sigh. Perspective limits understanding, Princess of Sadala. What appears as destruction from W. Ithin the equation represents necessary variables rebalancing when viewed from without. That doesn't justify suffering, Goku countered firmly. If these changes are necessary, there must be ways to implement them without sacrificing innocent lives. Perhaps, Demora acknowledged. That possibility is why I observe rather than immediately act. Your unique position, Catalyst, mortal essence wit, H divine training, represents an unexpected variable in the cosmic equation. Your choices may indeed reveal pathways previously unconsidered. The entity's form began to fade, the portal behind it pulsing with increasing frequency. The tournament of existence approaches. Ancient universes reawaken. Possibilities multiply. We will speak again when your understanding has evolved. With those cryptic words, Demora retreated into the shimmering portal, which collapsed upon itself with a whisper of potential rather than sound. Silence returned to the lunar surface, broken only by the subtle energy distortions left in the entity's wake. Goku and Vada exchanged troubled glances, both recognizing the encounter's significance without needing to verbalize it. "Well," Goku finally said, "I gue SS that confirms the legends about Demora's return, and suggests complications beyond what even the Grand Minister indicated," Vada added grimly. "If Demora views these fractures as necessary cosmic rebalancing rather than existential threats, then we're caught between competing cosmic perspectives," Goku finished. "Zeno's established order versus Demora's vision of necessary change. We, Th18 universes and countless lives hanging in the balance," Vada concluded. They stood in contemplative silence for several moments longer, the blue glow of Earth on the lunar horizon providing stark reminder of what was at stake. Finally, Goku straightened, determination replacing uncertainty in his expression. "We should report this encounter to the Grand Minister," he decided. "But first, let's return to Earth and prepare for tomorrow's tournament. One step at a time." Vada nodded agreement, her tactical mind already calculating implications and possible countermeasures. "Agreed. And after your Earth tournament, we investigate Universe 6. If Demora's return is accelerating, we need first-hand assessment of the damage already occurring." With that plan established, they departed the lunar surface, leaving behind a transformed landscape bearing silent testimony to powers beyond mortal comprehension, and to challenges that would soon test the very foundations of existence itself. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, The Tournament of Existence. Morning light filtered through parted curtains, casting golden rectangles across the hotel room floor. Goku sat cross-legged on his bed, eyes lost in meditation. Not the simple focus exercises Master Roshi had once taught him, but complex pattern recognition techniques learned in the Nexus. The cosmic regulator the Grand Minister had provided rested on a small table nearby. Its pulsing inner light synchronized with Earth's natural energy frequencies. Through enhanced perception, Goku monitored the stabilization effect spreading outward. From the crystal sphere, reality strengthening within its influence, dimensional fractures healing like wounds closing under regenerative medicine. The process fascinated him from both practical and theoretical perspectives, reminding him of Oren's endless lessons on cosmic mathematics and structural integrity. A sharp knock interrupted his observation. "Goku, you awake in there? Registration closes in 30 minutes. Krillin's voice called through the door. "Coming," Goku replied, opening his eyes and rising in a single fluid motion. He carefully tucked the cosmic regulator into a small pouch, ordinary looking but crafted from materials that would shield its energy signature from casual detection. Not that his friends could perceive such things, but other, less friendly entities might. Opening the door revealed not just Krillin but the entire group: Bulma, Master Roshi, Yamcha, and Puar, all dressed for the tournament and vibrating with anticipation. "Finally," Bulma exclaimed, "we've been waiting forever. The preliminaries start soon." Goku smiled apologetically. "Sorry about that, I was preparing." Master Roshi studied him with shrewd eyes behind dark sunglasses. "Interesting preparation techniques you've developed, my boy. Your energy feels remarkably contained this morning." "Just focusing," Goku replied casually, deflecting further inquiry. "Don't want to waste energy before the matches." As they headed toward the tournament grounds, Goku scanned the crowds discreetly, searching for Vada's distinctive energy signature. They'd agreed to meet at the Regist ration area after returning from the moon last night, but he sensed she was already present, observing from somewhere nearby. "Looking for someone?" Yamcha asked, noticing Goku's wandering attention. "Just curious who else might be competing this year," Goku answered truthfully, if incompletely. "The last tournament had some pretty strong fighters." "Well, I've been training non-stop," Krillin declared proudly. "I might even give you a challenge this time, Goku." Goku grinned, genuinely pleased by his friend's confidence. "I'm looking forward to it." The tournament grounds bustled with activity, fighters registering, spectators buying tickets, vendors setting up food stalls that sent tantalizing aromas wafting through the morning air. Nostalgia washed over Goku, memories of his first competition overlapping with his present perceptions. Despite everything he had experienced and learned, some things remained wonderfully, comfortingly unchanged. At the registration table, Goku signed in with practiced nonchalance, carefully avoiding questions about his 3-year absence. Behind him, his friends chatted excitedly about potential matchups and notable returning competitors. None of them noticed the elegant woman who materialized at Goku's side as he stepped away from the table. Primitive, Vada observed quietly, her voice pitched for his ears alone. Handwritten registrations, no energy verification protocols, no combat classification system. How do they properly seed the brackets? Goku suppressed a smile at her obvious disdain. They don't. It's random drawing. Makes things more interesting. It makes things chaotic and inefficient, she countered, though without real heat. She had exchanged her Saiyan armor for Earth attire, stylish but practical black pants and a crimson top that allowed full range of movement while blending reasonably well with local fashion. Her tail remained carefully concealed beneath the clothing, though Goku could sense its presence. Did you register? He asked. Against my better judgment, yes. Vada nodded toward the preliminary area. I completed the paperwork 10 minutes ago. The official seemed confused by my lack of surname. Goku was about to respond when Bulma suddenly appeared at his elbow, her curious gaze fixed on Vada. Goku, aren't you going to introduce us to your friend? She asked, not bothering to hide her interest. Before Goku could formulate an appropriate explanation, Vada extended her hand with formal precision. I am Vada. I met Son Goku recently during his training period. I've come to participate in your tournament and observe Earth's martial arts traditions. Oh, well, that's wonderful. Bulma shook Vada's hand enthusiastically. I'm Bulma Briefs. Any friend of Goku's is a friend of ours. Where are you from? Your accent is unusual. A small island nation far from here, Vada replied smoothly. One with a long warrior tradition that has developed in isolation. Krillin and the others had now gathered around, openly curious about the striking newcomer. Master Roshi pushed his way forward, adjusting his sunglasses with one hand while extending the other toward Vada. Well, hello there, young lady. I am Master Roshi, the world's greatest martial arts teacher and Goku's former instructor. Perhaps I could show you some private techniques. The old man's lecherous tone left little doubt about his meaning. Vada regarded his outstretched hand as one might view a particularly repulsive insect. Touch me inappropriately, elder, and you will lose the offending appendage. The deadly seriousness in her tone caused Master Roshi to backpedal hastily, while Krillin and Yamcha struggled to contain their laughter. She's got you pegged already, old man, Yamcha chuckled. Master Roshi harumphed indignantly. No respect for traditional masters these days. An announcement over the loudspeaker interrupted their introductions, calling all competitors to the preliminary area for bracket assignments. Goku seized the opportunity to extract himself and Vada from further questioning. That's our cue. Good luck everyone, he called, guiding Vada toward the designated area with a gentle touch on her elbow. Your mentor is a sexual deviant, Vada observed once they were out of earshot. Goku sighed. Master Roshi has some outdated ideas about women. But he's a good person underneath all that. And he taught me important foundations of martial arts. Vada's expression remained skeptical. Your loyalty is commendable if misplaced. The preliminary area BU.ZZ with activity is 137 fighters from around the world gathered for the elimination rounds. Only 8 would advance to the final tournament, a fact that drew confident smirks from both Goku and Vada. As they waited for instructions, Goku noticed Vada studying the other competitors with tactical precision, her eyes cataloging strengths, weaknesses, and potential threats with professional assessment. Anyone interesting? He asked quietly. Mostly unremarkable, she replied. Though there are 3 individuals with energy signatures slightly above human average. She nodded subtly toward a tall, muscular man with tribal markings. A serene woman in monk's robes, and a wiry fighter whose hands never stopped moving. Nothing that would register as significant by universal standards, but apparently exceptional for this planet. Goku nodded, having noticed the same individuals. King Chappa, the tribal fighter, was undefeated until his match with me 3 years ago. The monk is new, but her ki control is impressive for someone without formal energy training. The nervous one has perfect physical technique, though his energy work is underdeveloped. Vada raised an eyebrow, clearly reassessing Goku's observational skills. Before she could comment, tournament officials began explaining the preliminary rules, a series of one-on-one matches on small platforms, with rings out, knockouts, or submissions determining victors. Remember, Goku whispered as they separated for their respective brackets, hold back enough to seem human. We can't attract undue attention. Vada nodded curtly. I am capable of discretion, Goku. Focus on your own control. The preliminaries proceeded with predictable outcomes. Goku advanced through his bracket with casual ease, carefully calibrating High's strength to appear impressive but not superhuman. Each opponent fell to precisely calculated strikes that demonstrated superior technique without revealing divine training. From across the hall, he occasionally glimpsed Vada's matches, clinical demonstrations of efficiency that ended with opponents unconscious or yielding before they fully registered what had happened. Her expression never changed from cool assessment, not a drop of sweat marring her composed features. By mid-afternoon, the 8 finalists had been determined: Goku, Vada, Krillin, Tien Shinhan, a new fighter with remarkable three-eyed physiology, King Chappa. The serene female monk introduced his sister Yulan Yamcha, and a masked competitor calling himself Mighty Mask, who moved with surprising grace despite his concealing costume. The tournament announcer gathered them for the final bracket determination, expressing particular excitement at Goku's return after 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, our quarterfinal matches have been decided. First match: Krillin vs. Sister Yulan. Second match: Tien Shinhan vs. King Chappa. Third match: Yamcha vs. the mysterious Mighty Mask. And our final quarter finale: the returning champion Goku vs. the tournament newcomer Vada. Krillin groaned at the announcement of Goku and Vada's pairing. Those two are clearly the strongest fighters here. They should have met in the finals. Not the first round. Random drawing. Goku reminded him with a grin, catching Vada's eye across the gathering. Her subtle nod communicated mutual understanding. Their match would require careful calibration to appear competitive without revealing their true capabilities. As the finalists dispersed to prepare for tomorrow's public tournament, Goku sensed a familiar energy. Signature approaching Earth's atmosphere, not hostile, but distinctly non-terrestrial. He exchanged a quick glance with Vada, who had also detected the arrival. The Grand Minister returns, she murmured. Earlier than expected. Not just him, Goku replied quietly. There are multiple signatures, divine and something else. They made excuses to Goku's friends and slipped away from the tournament grounds, finding a secluded area behind the competitors' housing where they could observe without being observed. Above them, invisible to ordinary perception, space folded in precise patterns, a SA portal established itself in Earth's upper atmosphere. Goku extended his senses beyond physical limitations, perceiving the arrivals in detail despite the distance. The Grand Minister, 2 attendants I don't recognize, and interesting. What? Vada asked, her own senses straining to identify the 4th signature. A mortal, Goku replied, fascination coloring his tone. But not like any I've encountered before. The energy pattern is structured differently. Highly analytical, almost mathematical in its organization. Before Vada could respond, space rippled before them as the Grand Minister materialized. Accompanied by his entourage, the angel's perpetual smile revealed nothing of his purpose as he bowed slightly in greeting. Son Goku, Princess Vada. How fortunate to find you together again. Vada's jaw tightened at the royal title, but she said nothing, focusing instead on the Grand Minister's companions. 2 were clearly celestial beings, blue-skinned angels with the characteristic staff and halo. Though their robes bore different insignia than those Goku recognized from his training. The 4th arrival, however, drew both warriors' attention immediately. Slender and of average height, she possessed lavender skin and delicately pointed ears that suggested Kai heritage, though her features lacked the roundness common to Supreme Kais Goku had met. Her attire combined traditional Kai robes with what appeared to be technical enhancements, crystalline devices embedded in the fabric and a complex headpiece that periodically emitted subtle pulses of energy. Most striking were her eyes, solid silver with no visible pupil or iris, yet clearly capable of perception beyond the merely visual. Allow me to introduce Lina, the Grand Minister said, gesturing to the lavender-skinned figure. Chief Scientific Advisor to Universe 3's Supreme Kai and our foremost expert on interdimensional mechanics. Lina stepped forward, her movements precise and economical. When she spoke, her voice carried musical overtones that seemed to exist simultaneously at multiple frequencies. Fascinating, she said, silver eyes fixed on Goku with undisguised scientific interest. Quote, "The quantum resonance patterns in your cellular structure are unlike anything in my existing datasets. A mortal framework supporting divine energy integration without degradation. Most improbable." Goku blinked at this unusual greeting. Nice to meet you too." Vada's posture had shifted subtly to alert readiness. "Why have you brought a Universe 3 scientist to Earth? Has the situation deteriorated further?" The Grand Minister's expression grew marginally more serious. "Indeed, the dimensional fractures have accelerated beyond projected parameters. 6 additional star systems have been compromised in the last 24 hours, 2 in Universe 6, 3 in Universe 3, and 1 in Universe 7. "One in our universe?" Goku asked sharply. "Where?" "The Xanthian system," the Grand Minister replied. "Approximately 60 light-years from Earth. Uninhabited, fortunately, but the pattern of expansion suggests increased activity from both the Null Council and Lord Demora's nascent influence." Lina stepped closer, the devices on her robes humming as she studied both warriors with clinical precision. "You've encountered Demora directly," she stated rather than asked. "Recently. The entanglement signatures are still active in your molecular structure." Vada's eyes narrowed. "Your observation techniques are impressively invasive." "Merely efficient," Lina replied without taking offense. "Time constraints necessitate direct analysis rather than prolonged conventional interaction." She turned to the Grand Minister. "The catalyst subject's condition confirms preliminary hypotheses. Intervention must proceed according to schedule." "Catalyst subject?" Goku questioned. "You mean me?" "Demora called me that too." The Grand Minister nodded. "A somewhat clinical designation, but accurate. Your unique position, mortal essence with divine training, creates catalytic effects on cosmic structures. These effects were anticipated and are, in fact, necessary for the coming recalibration." "What you're not saying," Vada interjected, her tactical mind catching implications, "is that Goku's presence is actively accelerating these fractures, not merely coinciding with them." Lin A's silver eyes shifted to Vada with new interest. "Correct. The catalyst's energy signature creates harmonic resonance with fundamental cosmic frequencies, amplifying existing instabilities." However, she raised a slender finger as Vada began to protest. "This acceleration is necessary to achieve controlled restructuring rather than eventual catastrophic collapse." Goku processed this information with growing concern. "So I'm making things worse to ultimately make them better. That seems counterintuitive." "Many healing processes initially appear destructive," the Grand Minister explained. "Consider how muscle tissue must tear before strengthening, or how immune responses cause fever before restoration. Cosmic principles operate similarly, if at vastly different scales. Which brings us to our purpose here," he continued, gesturing to Lina. "The tournament of existence must be accelerated. Preparations that would normally require a month will now be compressed into 3 days. 3 days, Vada repeated incredulously. "That's barely enough time for basic dimensional transit protocols, let alone full tournament infrastructure." Lina's headpiece pulsed with increased frequency as she responded. "Conventional timeframes are no longer viable. My calculations indicate 78.3% probability of catastrophic dimensional collapse within 14 days if current acceleration continues without corresponding stabilization measures. The tournament itself is the stabilization measure," the Grand Minister added. "By gathering representatives from all 18 universes in a single nexus point, we create a controlled environment for harmonic reintegration." Goku crossed his arms, expression thoughtful. "So the tournament isn't just about finding defenders against the Null Council. It's also about creating some kind of resonance pattern that helps heal these fractures." Lina's silver eyes widened slightly, her head tilting with reassessment. "Your conceptual framework exceeds predicted parameters." "Catalyst." "Yes, precisely. The energetic exchanges during combat will establish reinforcing interference patterns, canceling destructive resonances while amplifying constructive ones. Like tuning a musical instrument," Vada concluded, "but with reality itself." An imprecise but functionally adequate metaphor, Lina agreed. Which necessitates your immediate withdrawal from this provincial competition to begin preparation for the true tournament. Goku frowned. But the World Martial Arts Tournament starts tomorrow. I promised my friends I'd compete. They've been waiting 3 years to see me again. The Grand Minister considered this with uncharacteristic hesitation. While cosmic priorities would typically supersede local commitments, in this instance, perhaps accommodation is possible. He turned to Lina. Would 24 additional hours significantly impact probability models? Lina's headpiece hummed as calculations processed. Marginal impact. Catastrophic threshold moves from 14 days to 13. Acceptable variance if preparation efficiency increases proportionally afterward. Then it's settled, the Grand Minister declared. Son Goku and Princess Vada will complete their participation in Earth's tournament tomorrow, after which they will join the official delegation to the Tournament of Existence. He turned to the two angels who had remained silent throughout the exchange. Murren, Jairus, please establish the necessary transit protocols for rapid deployment following tomorrow's events. The angels bowed in acknowledgement before vanishing in synchronized flashes of light. The Grand Minister returned his attention to Goku and Vada. I suggest you both rest and prepare for tomorrow's competition. While it may seem insignificant compared to cosmic concerns, maintaining normal patterns helps prevent premature attention from hostile forces. The Null Council is already monitoring anomalous energy signatures, OBV. IOUS disruptions would only accelerate their interference. With that guidance delivered, he prepared to depart, but Goku raised a hand to stop him. Wait, what about the Earth Tournament winners? On't it seem strange when both finalists suddenly disappear right after the championship? The Grand Minister smiled. A practical concern, well noted. Perhaps a suitable explanation involving an exclusive international martial arts summit. Your friends would find such a development plausible without raising undue suspicion. I'll handle the cover story, Vada stated with confidence. Tactical misdirection is within my expertise. Excellent, the Grand Minister approved. Lina will remain on Earth to monitor dimensional stability and begin preliminary scans of both your energy signatures. Her presence will be concealed from ordinary perception. Lina nodded, though her attention had already shifted to a handheld device that materialized between her palms. Baseline quantum resonance. Mapping requires minimum 16-hour observation period. I shall commence immediately. Without further ceremony, she approached Goku and placed a small crystalline disc on his forearm. The device adhered seamlessly, then seemed to melt into his skin, leaving only a faint iridescent pattern like a temporary tattoo. Hey, Goku exclaimed, more surprised than alarmed. A little warning would be nice. Inefficient, Lina replied matter-of-factly, approaching Vada with a second disc. Explanation increases preparation time by approximately 47 seconds per subject. Vada stepped back, eyes narrowing. I do not consent to implantation of unknown technology without thorough briefing on its function and limitations. Lina paused, silver eyes blinking once before she recalibrated her approach. Non-invasive quantum resonance tracker. Monitors energy patterns without altering them. Dissolves naturally after 24 hours. No data transmission beyond local analysis. No ion with biological systems beyond passive observation. After a moment's consideration, Vada extended her arm with clear reluctance. Acceptable parameters. The Grand Minister watched this exchange with subtle amusement. I leave you in Lina's capable hands. She will ensure your transition to the Tournament of Existence proceeds smoothly after tomorrow's preliminary entertainment. With those parting words and a polite bow, he vanished, leaving them alone with the Universe 3 scientist who had already returned to studying her monitoring device with intense concentration. So, Goku began, uncertain how to proceed with their unusual companion. Will you be watching the tournament tomorrow, Lina? The scientist looked up from her device, seeming mildly surprised at being addressed. Observation is my primary function. I will analyze combat efficiency, energy utilization ratios, and adaptation algorithms during your performances. She means, yes, Vada translated dryly. Though, I doubt she'll appreciate the artistry of combat beyond its quantifiable elements. Lina tilted her head, silver eyes focusing on Vada with new interest. You perceive combat as artistic expressi on rather than purely functional exchange. Fascinating cultural variance. Universe 6 Saiyans evolved aesthetic appreciation alongside tactical efficiency. All effective warriors understand combat as more than mere function. Vada replied. The difference between victory and defeat often lies in elements your instruments cannot quantify. Rather than taking offense, Lina activated another Devik on her headpiece that began emitting soft pulses of light. Hypothesis noted. Tomorrow's observation parameters expanded to include subjective experiential components. This conversation has improved experimental design by 23.7%. Gratitude is appropriate, yes. The earnest question, delivered with such clinical precision, surprised a small laugh from Goku. Yes, saying, thank you, works fine. Thank you, Lina repeated carefully, as if testing unfamiliar vocabulary. Shall I accompany you to your dwelling for continued monitoring? Vada's expression suggested this was the last thing she wanted. But Goku intervened before she could deliver what would likely be a cutting refusal. Maybe it's better if you observe from a distance tonight, he suggested diplomatically. We need to rest before tomorrow's competition. And my friends might ask questions if they see you. Lina considered this, then nodded. Logical. Remote monitoring within 500 meters provides sufficient data resolution. I shall establish an observation post nearby. Without further discussion, she turned and walked away, devices still humming as she disappeared around a corner. Well, Goku said into the ensuing silence, that was different. Quote, Universe 3, Vada replied, as if this explained everything. They evolved toward technical specialization rather than balanced development. Brilliant minds, but often lacking in social graces or combat prowess. She seems nice enough, just focused. Goku rubbed absently at the iridescent pattern on his arm. Think these tracker things are safe? If the Grand Minister endorsed them, yes. Vada's expression remained troubled. What concerns me more is the accelerated timeline. 3 days leaves minimal preparation for a tournament of this magnitude. Even Universe 6's advanced logistics would struggle with such constraints. Goku nodded, understanding her concern. And 18 universes means fighters we know nothing about, including 6 that haven't existed in recorded history. Quote, precisely. Vada's tactical mind was clearly already calculating implications. We should prioritize gathering intelligence during transit and preliminary rounds. Identifying key competitors and potential threats will be essential. Let's focus on tomorrow first, Goku suggested. One tournament at a time. Vada's lips curved in a small but genuine smile. Sound tactical advice. Surprisingly. Very well, we shall concentrate on the immediate challenge before addressing cosmic concerns. They parted ways shortly after, returning to their respective accommodations to prepare for tomorrow's competition. Goku rejoined his friends for dinner, fielding questions about Vada with vague responses that satisfied curiosity without revealing cosmic complications. Through it all, he maintained awareness of Lina's presence, a distinct energy signature moving methodically around the perimeter of the tournament grounds, instruments quietly gathering data on patterns invisible to ordinary perception. The night passed quickly, and morning arrived with perfect tournament weather, clear skies, mild temperature, and light breeze ideal for outdoor competition. Spectators filled the stands early, anticipation building as the 8 finalists prepared in the competitors' area. Krillin paced nervously, occasionally throwing punches at invisible opponents. I've trained for this moment for years. Sister Yulan won't know what hit her. Nearby, Yamcha stretched with casual confidence. This mighty masked character may have some fancy moves, but he hasn't faced the Wolf Fang Fist. Tien Shinhan meditated silently in a corner, his third eye occasionally opening to study his fellow competitors with calculating assessment. King Chappa maintained similar focus, though his tribal preparations involved ritualistic movements rather than still meditation. Sister Yulan, the serene female monk, simply stood with perfect posture, hands clasped before her, radiating tranquility that seemed at odds with the competitive environment. The mysterious mighty mask adjusted his costume periodically, movements suggesting nervousness beneath the flamboyant exterior. And then there was Vada, who had positioned herself apart from the others, conducting a precisely structured warm-up routine that combined stretching, breath control, and subtle energy circulation. Her movements drew admiring glances from several competitors, the technical perfection evident even to those who couldn't perceive the energy work underlying each position. Goku completed his own preparations with simple efficiency, then approached Vada as the tournament announcer began calling competitors to assemble. "Ready for our match?" he asked quietly. "Prepared for optimal performance within established parameters," she replied, which Goku interpreted as, "Yes," with typical Vada precision. "Remember, we need to make it look good but not too good," he reminded her. "Keep it at high human level. I am capable of calibrated performance," Vada stated, a hint of irritation coloring her tone. "Focus on your own control, Goku. Your power fluctuations during excitement are considerably less disciplined than mine." Before he could defend his control techniques, the announcer's voice boomed through the stadium, calling all competitors to the main platform for introductions. The Crow D roared as the 8 finalists emerged into sunlight, waving to spectators who had traveled from across the world to witness martial arts excellence. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer proclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious, "welcome to the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament Finals. Today, these 8 exceptional fighters will compete for the title of World Champion and the prize of 500,000 zeni." As each competitor was introduced, Goku scanned the crowd, locating his friends in the front row, Bulma cheering wildly, Master Roshi shouting advice, who are holding a "Go Yamcha" sign. Their genuine excitement touched him deeply, a reminder of the simple joys that existed alongside cosmic responsibilities. He also spotted Lina, who had disguised her alien features with a hooded cloak but remained recognizable to enhanced perception. Her instruments continued gathering data, occasionally emitting subtle pulses of energy as she calibrated her readings. The first match, Krillin vs. Ceased Lan, began with ceremonial bows before erupting into surprisingly competitive combat. Krillin's technical precision and experience initially gave him the advantage, but Sister Yulan's unconventional style, flowing movements that seemed to redirect rather than oppose force, gradually turned the tide. After 7 minutes of intense exchange, she secured victory by calmly redirecting Krillin's momentum to send him flying beyond the platform boundaries. The second quarterfinal featured Tien Shinhan demonstrating remarkable techniques unknown to most Earth fighters. His three-eyed physiology provided unique perceptual advantages, allowing him to counter King Chappa's tribal fighting style with uncanny precision. The match ended with a devastating palm strike that rendered King Chappa unconscious. The first knockout victory of the tournament. Next, Yamcha faced Mighty Mask in what began as a one-sided affair, with Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist technique overwhelming the masked competitor's defenses. However, midway through the match, Mighty Mask revealed surprising adaptability, analyzing and countering Yamcha's signature moves with growing effectiveness. The battle concluded with an unexpected reversal as Mighty Mask executed a perfect counter to Yamcha's ultimate technique, sending him tumbling from the platform to the crowd's astonishment. Finally, the fourth quarterfinal arrived, Son Goku vs. Vada. As they took their positions on opposite sides of the platform, a strange hush fell over the crowd, as if even ordinary spectators sensed something different about these two competitors. "Our final quarterfinal features 2 exceptional martial artists," the announcer proclaimed. Returning champion Son Goku, whose incredible techniques amazed us 3 years ago, faces tournament newcomer Vada, who dominated the preliminaries with extraordinary precision. This promises to be a match for the ages. The gong sounded, signaling the start of combat. Neither fighter moved immediately, each studying the other with calm assessment that belied the tension building between them. This was no ordinary match. It required perfect control, a choreographed dance of power that had to appear authentic while revealing nothing of their true capabilities. Vada moved first, crossing the distance between them with speed that appeared impressive to human observers while remaining well within mortal parameters. Her opening combination, a flurry of strikes targeting pressure points along Goku's torso, demonstrated technical perfection without supernatural elements. Goku responded with appropriate defensive maneuvers, blocking or deflecting each strike with matching precision. To the audience, it appeared as high-level martial arts exchange, only the fighters themselves recognized. The subtle communication occurring beneath the surface, minute energy adjustments signaling intensity levels and response patterns. "Excellent control," Vada murmured during a clinch, their faces close enough for private conversation. The calibration is precisely human plus. You too, Goku replied with a quick grin before disengaging with a spinning back kick that Vada narrowly evaded. Let's give them a show. What followed was a masterful demonstration of technical martial arts. No energy blasts, no flight, no supernatural speed, yet performed with such precision and fluidity that it transcended ordinary human combat. Each exchange built upon the previous, techniques flowing from one to another in seamless combination that drew gasps and cheers from increasingly enthusiastic spectators. Midway through the match, Goku caught sight of Master Roshi leaning forward intently, his experienced eyes narrowing behind sunglasses as he studied movements just at the edge of human capability. The old master was no fool. He recognized something unusual in their performance, even if he couldn't identify exactly what. "We need to make mistakes," Goku whispered during another momentary clinch. "Perfect technique looks suspicious." Quote. Vada acknowledged this with an almost imperceptible nod before deliberately overextending on her next combination, creating an opening that Goku exploited with textbook counterattack. The exchange appeared completely natural to observers, a fighter's enthusiasm creating vulnerability that her opponent capitalized upon. The match continued with carefully calculated ebb and flow, each fighter appearing to gain advantage before losing it to well-timed counters. Their performance balanced technical excellence with believable human limitations, fighters growing gradually fatigued, occasionally missing timing or position, breathing becoming more labored as the match progressed. After 15 minutes of increasingly dramatic exchange, they reached the predetermined conclusion sequence. Vada launched what appeared to be an all-out offensive, driving Goku toward the platform's edge with relentless combinations. He defended while giving ground, seeming L.Y. overwhelmed by her precision and speed. At the critical moment, with defeat appearing imminent, Goku executed the planned reversal, a subtle shift of weight that used Vada's forward momentum against her. Followed by a perfectly timed sweep that caught her supporting leg. The movement carried both technical excellence and theatrical drama as Vada tumbled toward the boundary. In a display of remarkable athleticism that drew gasps from spectators, Vada nearly recovered with a mid-air twist that would have returned her to the platform. Her fingers brushed the edge as she fell, close enough to suggest possibility of recovery while ensuring Goku's victory as gravity claimed her. "Winner by ring out, Son Goku," the announcer proclaimed as the crowd erupted in cheers. Goku immediately moved to the edge, extending his hand to help Vada up in a gesture of sportsmanship. She accepted with appropriate grace, her expression showing calculated disappointment masking inner satisfaction at their perfectly executed performance. "Well fought," Goku said loudly enough for nearby officials to hear. "Next time, the outcome will differ," Vada replied with convincing determination, playing her role flawlessly. As they left the platform, Krillin rushed forward to congratulate Goku, his earlier disappointment at his own elimination apparently forgotten. "That was amazing. I've never seen anything like it. The way you reversed her momentum at the end, pure genius." "Thanks, Krillin," Goku replied with genuine warmth. "She's incredibly skilled. I got lucky with that last counter." "Luck had nothing to do with it," Master Roshi interjected, approaching with measured steps that belied his apparent age. "That was one of the most technically perfect matches I've ever witnessed." His eyes shifted to Vada with professional assessment. "Your style is unfamiliar to me, young lady. Which school do you represent?" "My techniques derive from ancient Sadala traditions," Vada answered smoothly. "You sing her actual heritage is convenient cover. Passed through royal lineage for generations." "Royal lineage," Bulma repeated with newfound interest. "Are you actually royalty?" Vada's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Former nobility. My family's position ended with our homeland's destruction." This partial truth effectively redirected the conversation toward sympathetic territory rather than deeper questioning about her origins. Master Roshi, however, maintained thoughtful assessment behind his sunglasses, clearly filing away observations for later consideration. The semifinals proceeded with Tien Shinhan defeating Sister Yulan in a technically impressive if somewhat one-sided match, followed by Goku facing Mighty Mask in what proved unexpectedly competitive combat. The Sked fighter demonstrated remarkable adaptability, analyzing and countering Goku's techniques with growing effectiveness throughout their exchange. At one point, locked in close quarters grappling, Goku noticed something strange about his opponent's energy signature, a complexity suggesting more than appeared on the surface. Mighty Mosk's movements occasionally displayed disconnected timing, as if different parts of his body were operating under separate control. Interesting disguise, Goku whispered, too quietly for spectators to hear. Two fighters in one costume. Mighty Mask stiffened momentarily before disengaging with a backward leap. Though the mask concealed facial expression, the body language communicated clear alarm at being discovered. Goku maintained his friendly competition persona, not revealing his discovery to officials or spectators. He concluded the match with appropriate technical dominance, securing victory without humiliating his opponent, whoever they might be beneath the elaborate costume. The final match pitted Goku against Tien Shinhan in genuinely challenging combat. The three-eyed warrior possessed legitimate talent and unusual techniques that required actual effort to counter effectively. Goku found himself enjoying the exchange without needing to fake limitations. Tien's abilities were impressive enough that maintaining human plus performance levels still created authentic competition. After 20 minutes of intense combat that left the audience breathless with excitement, Goku secured victory with a perfectly executed combination that sent Tien flying beyond the platform boundaries. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause as the announcer proclaimed Goku the tournament champion for a second consecutive time. Amazing performance, ladies and gentlemen. The announcer shouted above the cheers. Son Goku retains his title as world champion after 3 years away from competition. Truly one of the greatest martial artists our tournament has ever seen. The victory celebration proceeded with appropriate ceremony, presentation of the championship belt, awarding of prize money, congratulations from fellow competitors and tournament officials. Throughout it all, Goku maintained awareness of Lina's continued observation, the Universe 3 scientists' instruments working continuously to record data that ordinary observers couldn't perceive. As the formal proceedings concluded and spectators began dispersing, Vada approached Goku with purposeful stride. "We have a situation," she stated quietly. "Lina has detected dimensional IRR. Irregularities forming approximately 12 kilometers offshore. Potential breach in progress." Goku's expression grew serious immediately. "The Grand Minister, already notified. He suggests we handle it locally if possible to avoid drawing wider attention." Vada glanced toward Goku's celebrating friends. "We need a plausible excuse to depart." "Leave that to me," Goku replied. He approached his friends with apologetic expression already in place. "Hey guys, I hate to cut the celebration short, but something's come up. Vada just received word about an exclusive international martial arts summit happening tonight. As tournament champion, I've been invited to attend, and they want us to leave immediately." "What? But we just started celebrating," Bulma protested. "Can't it wait until tomorrow?" "Apparently not," Goku shrugged. "Something about martial arts masters from around the world who are only gathered for tonight. It's a pretty big opportunity." Master Roshi studied him with shrewd assessment before nodding slowly. "Such gatherings of masters are rare indeed. You should attend, my boy. The knowledge exchanged at these events can be invaluable." "Thanks for understanding," Goku said, genuinely grateful for the old master's support. "I'll tell you all about it when I get back." With hasty farewells and promises to meet again soon, Goku extracted himself from the celebration. He joined Vada and Lina, who waited at the tournament exit with visible impatience. "Dimensional variance accelerating," Lina reported without preamble. "Pattern suggests deliberate incursion rather than natural fracture. 78% probability of coordinated null agent activity. We should move quickly," Vada stated. "Can you transport us directly to the coordinates?" Goku nodded, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. "Hold tight." Using a modified version of the spatial manipulation technique he'd learned in the Nexus, Goku shifted their location without conventional movement. To an observer, they would have blurred momentarily before vanishing. To the participants, reality simply rearranged itself around them. They materialized on a small uninhabited island, approximately 12 kilometers from Papaya Island's main shores. Palm trees swayed in ocean breeze, waves lapped gently against pristine beaches, and directly above them, reality fractured like broken glass. The dimensional breach hung suspended approximately 20 meters above the island's center, a jagged tear in space-time that leaked darkness rather than light. Unlike previous incursions, this fracture appeared structured. Its edges too precise to be natural formation. Artificial breach, Lina confirmed, instruments humming as she gathered readings. Quantum signature indicates technology rather than inherent ability. Null Council has developed dimensional transit capabilities beyond previous assessments. Can you seal it? Vada asked, eyes fixed on the growing distortion. Lina shook her head, not without appropriate equipment. My analytical devices aren't designed for active intervention. Then we handle it directly, Goku decided, his casual tournament persona replaced by focused determination. Standard containment and redirection, Vada nodded, moving to establish optimal tactical position. I'll maintain perimeter security while you address the primary breach. What should I do? Lina asked, her scientific detachment momentarily giving way to practical uncertainty. Continue gathering data, Vada instructed. Your analysis may prove crucial in understanding their technology and developing countermeasures. As they established positions, the breach expanded with sudden violence, darkness pouring through like liquid shadow. From within this impossible substance emerged 5 distinct entities, null agents more fully formed than those from previous encounters, their bodies maintaining stable physical presence without the flickering instability of earlier manifestations. Most concerning was their equipment. Each entity carried devices of non-reflective material that pulsed with anti-light, technology designed to interact with physical reality while maintaining connection to void energies. They've adapted, Goku noted grimly. These aren't just scouts anymore. Extraction team, Vada assessed, recognizing tactical formation. They're here for something specific. The null agents moved with coordinated precision, establishing pentagon formation around the breach. Their devices activated simultaneously, projecting fields that stabilized and expanded the dimensional tier. Fascinating, Lina murmured, instruments recording frantically. They're creating stable transit corridor between dimensional boundaries. Technology theoretically possible given known physics limitations. Less analysis, more action, Vada urged as the breach continued expanding. Whatever they're bringing through, we need to stop it now. Goku needed no further encouragement. Drawing upon techniques learned from Zeno, he launched himself toward the breach, hands tracing complex patterns that manipulated fundamental forces rather than merely physical energies. The sigils he created hung momentarily in the air before expanding outward, reinforcing reality against void encroachment. The null agents reacted immediately, 3 maintaining the pentagon formation while 2 broke away to intercept Goku. Their movements displayed tactical intelligence beyond previous encounters, coordinated attacks targeting not just his physical form but the pattern structure of his techniques. Vada engaged these interceptors with precision that belied her earlier tournament performance. No longer constrained by human limitations, she moved with her true speed and power, still carefully controlled to avoid catastrophic environmental damage but demonstrating Universe 6 Saiyan capabilities far beyond Earth's greatest fighters. Her combat style emphasized efficiency over spectacle, each strike targeting specific vulnerabilities in the null agent's semi-physical forms. Where conventional attacks had proven ineffective in previous encounters, Vada's precision found weak points in their manifestation patterns, junctures where physical and void energies interacted that could be disrupted with properly calibrated force. While they engaged the interceptors, the remaining agents continued their primary objective, their devices pulsing with increasing intensity as the breach stabilized into what appeared to be a permanent portal. From within this dimensional doorway emerged a new entity, larger and more fully realized than the agents, its form composed of shifting geometric patterns that hurt the mind to observe directly. Central manifestation detected, Lina called out, her instruments registering alarming energy spikes. Pattern suggests Class 3 void entity, significantly beyond agent classification. The entity emerged completely from the portal, hovering above the island with palpable malevolence. When it spoke, the sound bypassed conventional auditory pathways to materialize directly within their minds. Catalyst located, Princess identified, Observer noted, its attention shifted between them with cold precision. Primary objectives confirmed, extraction protocols initiated. Goku recognized the immediate danger. They're not here to destroy, they're here to capture. Change of tactics. Understanding immediately, Vada shifted from offensive to defensive positioning, moving to protect Lina while Goku confronted the central entity. The null agents responded with corresponding tactical adjustment, their formation realigning to prioritize capture over elimination. The central entity raised appendages that resembled arms only in broadest concept. Geometric patterns flowing like liquid mathematics as it gathered void energy. The catalyst will return with us. Lord Demora awaits your presence. Not happening, Goku replied, drawing upon deeper reserves of power. His aura shifted from conventional ki to something more fundamental, patterns of energy that represented cosmic affirmation rather than mere force. With movements taught by Zeno himself, Goku began counter-pattern that opposed the entity's void manipulation, reality reinforcing itself around him as he established what Orin had called existential jurisdicti. The absolute right of something to exist as it is rather than as others would define it. The entity recoiled as its void energies met unexpected resistance. Impossible. Mortal vessel cannot sustain divine pattern recognition. I'm full of surprises, Goku replied, pressing his advantage. While Goku engaged the central entity, Vada defended against increasingly determined null agents. Our tactics had evolved. No longer straightforward attacks but complex maneuvers designed to separate and isolate their targets. Had she been facing them alone, even her exceptional skills might have proven insufficient. But years of command experience had taught Vada the value of adaptive cooperation. Lina, she called out, deflecting a void energy pulse with precisely angled key barrier. Can your instruments generate interference patterns? The scientist's silver eyes widened with understanding. Affirmative. Recalibrating quantum resonance trackers now. With remarkable efficiency, Lina purposed her analytical devices into active countermeasures, generating energy frequencies that disrupted the null agent's coordination. The effect wasn't destructive but disorienting, creating airy gaps in their tactical cohesion that Vada exploited with surgical precision. The central entity, recognizing the shifting tide of engagement, abandoned subtlety for direct approach. Void energy coalesced around it in visible darkness, reality dimming within its influence as fundamental forces weakened. With sudden violence, it launched this concentrated anti-creation directly at Goku, an attack designed not to damage but to unmake. To return complexity to primordial simplicity. Goku met the attack with techniques beyond conventional defense, not blocking or deflecting but redefining, asserting the immutable mathematics of existence against encroaching void. The collision created neither explosion nor shockwave but something more fundamental, a moment where being and non-being negotiated boundaries. Where possibility itself hung in temporary equilibrium. For a breath, absolute stillness claimed the island, waves frozen mid-crash, palm fronds suspended between positions, even light itself seeming to pause in its eternal journey. Then reality reasserted itself with Goku's victory, the void energy dispersing into harmless potential as the central entity staggered backward. Unexpected resistance, it communicated. Geometric patterns fluctuating with what might have been confusion. Recalculating approach. Before it could implement whatever new strategy it contemplated, space rippled nearby as another portal formed, this one structured with divine precision rather than void technology. From within emerged a figure that caused the null agents to retreat immediately, their cetical formation dissolving into disorganized withdrawal. The newcomer appeared female in basic form, though her features suggested something beyond conventional mortality. Tall and imposing, she wore armor of deep purple accented with silver that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Her skin held unusual coloration, pale lavender marked with darker patterns that might have been birthmarks or ritual scarification. Most striking were her eyes, completely black except for purple irises that glowed with inner light. Enough, she stated, her voice carrying authority that transcended physical presence. This incursion ends now. The central entity's patterns shifted with what appeared to be alarm. Impossible. The fallen destroyer cannot manifest in mortal realm. Cannot. The newcomer's lips curved in cold smile. Perhaps you should update your information. With casual grace that belied immense power, she extended one hand toward the void portal the null agents had created. Purple energy gathered at her fingertips, not destruction energy as wielded by active destroyers, but something adjacent to it, controlled with precision that suggested centuries of mastery. Begone, she commanded simply. The energy released from her hand struck the portal with perfect precision, causing it to collapse inward upon itself. The null agents caught in the implosion disappeared with it, their physical forms drawn back into whatever dimension they had emerged from. Only the central entity remained, its patterns fluctuating with visible distress as its connection to the void severed. It turned toward the newcomer with what might have been recognition. "Maeve," it communicated, "your interference is noted. The Council remembers your previous transgressions. And I remember the Council's previous defeats." The woman, Maeve, replied coldly. "Deliver this message. Earth remains under protection. The catalyst is not yours to claim. Further incursions will meet increasingly permanent responses." The entity's form began destabilizing without its portal's stabilizing influence, edges becoming indistinct as it struggled to maintain coherence in physical reality. "Protection is temporary. The one who was erased returns. All will be unmade." With those ominous words, it collapsed into formlessness, dissipating like smoke in wind as its essence returned to whatever void dimension had spawned it. Silence fell across the island, broken only by gentle wave sounds returning to normal rhythms. Goku, Vada, and Lina turned their attention to the mysterious newcomer who had so effortlessly ended the incursion. "Maeve," Goku repeated, studying her with curious assessment. "Former destroyer goddess of Universe 12, if I remember Oren's lessons correctly." Maeve raised an eyebrow, genuine surprise flickering across her otherwise composed features. "Oren taught you cosmic history. Interesting. The archivist was never known for sharing knowledge freely, especially with mortals." "She didn't have much choice," Goku replied with a small smile. "Zeno's orders." Ah, understanding dawned in Maeve's glowing eyes. "So you are indeed the mortal student rumors spoke of. I wondered if such tales could possibly be true." Vada stepped forward, her posture communicating respectful caution rather than threat. "Your intervention is appreciated, Lady Maeve. However, your presence raises questions. Former destroyers rarely interact with active universes without specific authorization." "Authorization?" Maeve laughed, the sound surprisingly melodic from one associated with cosmic destruction. "I abandoned such protocols when I abdicated my position, Princess Vada. I come and go as I please now, one of few benefits to cosmic unemployment." Lina, who had been silently recording data throughout the exchange, finally spoke. "Fascinating. A former destroyer who maintains destruction capabilities without official designation. Theoretically impossible according to established cosmic protocols. Many things once deemed impossible are becoming increasingly common," Maeve observed, her attention shifting between them with calculated assessment. "A mortal trained by Zeno. A Saiyan princess from Universe 6 operating in Universe 7. A Kai scientist from Universe 3 conducting field research beyond her jurisdiction. And now, a former destroyer intervening in Null Council operations." Her purple eyes settled on Goku with particular interest. "The multiverse realigns itself, Catalyst. Old boundaries dissolve while new alliances form. The tournament of existence approaches, and with it, possibilities neither Zeno nor Demora have fully anticipated." "You know about the tournament?" Goku asked, surprised. "I make it my business to know about cosmic restructuring events," Maeve replied. "Particularly those involving all 18 universes, including 6 that technically shouldn't exist anymore." Vada's eyes narrowed with tactical assessment. "Your knowledge exceeds official disclosures. You have sources within cosmic hierarchy." Maeve smiled enigmatically. "Let's just say retirement provides unexpected networking opportunities." Her expression grew more serious. "The Null Council's attempt to capture rather than eliminate you represents significant tactical shift. They recognize your importance to coming events, Catalyst." "And Demora?" Goku asked. "Where does he fit into all this?" "Between," Maeve replied cryptically. "Neither fully returned nor completely erased. A possibility-seeking manifestation through weaknesses in cosmic fabric." She gestured to the space where the void portal had been. "These incursions serve dual purpose, testing defenses while creating additional stress points in reality. Each breach, even when closed, leaves microscopic scars that accumulate. Like progressive metal fatigue," Lina observed, her scientific mind immediately grasping the concept. "Cumulative microfractures eventually leading to catastrophic structural failure." "Precisely." Maeve nodded approvingly. "The tournament of existence is both response and catalyst, an attempt to address symptoms while potentially accelerating underlying condition." "You make it sound like the tournament itself might be playing into Demora's plans," Goku noted with concern. Maeve's expression revealed nothing. Cosmic chess operates on multiple dimensions simultaneously. Catalyst. What appears counterproductive on one level may serve essential purpose on another. She glanced skyward, as if perceiving something beyond ordinary vision. Our time grows short. The Grand Minister approaches. True to her words, space rippled above them as another portal formed, this one bearing the unmistakable signature of divine authority. The Grand Minister emerged, his perpetual smile unchanged despite the recent conflict. Lady Maeve, he greeted with formal bow that acknowledged her former position. Your presence is unexpected but fortuitously timed. Grand Minister, she returned with equal formality. I happened to be in the neighborhood when void signatures registered on my awareness. Cosmic coincidence, surely. Something passed between them, unspoken communication that suggested previous relationship beyond official interaction. After a moment, the Grand Minister turned his attention to Goku, Vada, and Lina. I see you've handled the incursion effectively. The dimensional stability has been restored to acceptable parameters. He studied the area where the void portal had been, though not without concerning developments. Extraction Team S represent significant escalation in Null Council tactics. They specifically targeted Goku, Vada reported. Called him the Catalyst, and mentioned bringing him to Demora. The Grand Minister nodded, unsurprised. As anticipated, if sooner than projected, this confirms our timeline must accelerate further. He turned to Maeve with calculating assessment. Your intervention proved timely, Lady Maeve. Perhaps there is a more formal role you might play in coming events. Maeve's expression revealed momentary surprise before settling into careful neutrality. What exactly are you suggesting, Grand Minister? The Tournament of Existence requires qualified observers from neutral cosmic positions, he replied. As former destroyer no longer bound by hierarchical obligations, you represent T ideal candidate, experienced in cosmic affairs yet unaligned with current administrative structures. Observer rather than participant, Maeve clarified, something like disappointment flickering in her glowing eyes. For now, the Grand Minister allowed with diplomatic precision. Though circumstances may necessitate more active involvement as events progress. Maeve considered this offer with careful deliberation, her ancient eyes revealing calculation beyond mortal comprehension. Finally, she nodded once. Acceptable terms. I shall observe your tournament, Grand Minister, and provide pay. RSPECTIVE unconstrained by bureaucratic limitations. Excellent. The Grand Minister turned to Goku, Vada, and Lina. The time for preliminary preparations has ended. We must proceed directly to tournament mobilization. But the 3-day timeline, Vada began, is no longer viable, the Grand Minister interrupted gently. This incursion demonstrates acceleration beyond projected parameters. The Tournament of Existence must commence within 24 hours to prevent further dimensional degradation. Lina's instruments hummed with increased intensity as she processed this information. Quote, compressed timeline introduces significant logistical variables. Success probability decreases by approximately 27.4%. A necessary risk, the Grand Minister stated firmly. The alternative presents certainty of failure rather than merely reduced probability of success. Goku studied the Grand Minister with uncharacteristic intensity. There's something you're not telling us. This isn't just about stabilizing dimensions, is it? For perhaps the first time since Goku had known him, the Grand Minister's smile faltered slightly. Perceptive, Son Goku. Indeed, additional factors influence our accelerated timeline. Intelligence suggests Lord Demora's manifestation progresses more rapidly than anticipated. The Tournament of Existence serves not only to stabilize fractured dimensions but to establish cosmic consensus before his potential return reaches critical threshold. Cosmic consensus? Vada questioned. Unified agreement across divine hierarchies regarding appropriate response, Maeve explained, her tone suggesting intimate familiarity with such politics. Destroyer gods, supreme Kais, angels, and other cosmic entities rarely achieve unanimous perspective without structured provocation. A tournament provides such structure, the Grand Minister confirmed. Competition within controlled parameters allows natural alliances to form while identifying potential defenders should military response become necessary. Quote, so the tournament is partly a political exercise, Goku concluded, understanding dawning in his expression. getting everyone on the same page before Demora fully returns. An elegant simplification, but essentially correct, the Grand Minister acknowledged. Now, we must depart immediately. Lord Zeno awaits your arrival at the tournament grounds. Zeno himself will be there. Goku asked, genuine excitement replacing concern in his voice. Of course, a cosmic restructuring of this magnitude requires the Omni King's direct oversight. The Grand Minister gestured, creating portal large enough for all of them. Your Earth tournament obligations are concluded. The true competition now begins. As they prepared to depart, Goku cast one last glance toward distant Papaya Island, home to friends who had no concept of the cosmic drama unfolding just beyond their perception. He felt momentary regret at leaving without proper farewells, but responsibility outweighed sentiment. They'll be okay, he murmured to himself. That's why we're doing this, so they can continue their normal lives without knowing how close everything came to unraveling. With that resolution firmly in mind, he stepped through the portal alongside Vada, Lina, and Maeve, following the Grand Minister toward cosmic competition that would determine not just champions, but the very structure of reality itself. The tournament of existence awaited. The transition between dimensions felt different from previous cosmic travel Goku had experienced, not the smooth rearrange meant of reality characteristic of divine transport, but something more complex, as if they passed through multiple layers of existence simultaneously. Colors beyond conventional spectrum flowed around them. Mathematical patterns forming and dissolving in rhythmic sequences that suggested underlying purpose rather than random display. Fascinating, Lina murmured, her instruments recording frantically. We're traversing dimensional boundaries sequentially rather than bypassing them. Extremely inefficient but theoretically revealing. Not inefficient, the Grand Minister corrected gently. Educational. Lord Zeno requested this particular transit method to provide contextual understanding of multiverse structure before tournament commencement. Goku understood immediately. We're seeing how the universes connect, where the fractures are forming and how they're spreading. Precisely. The Grand Minister gestured toward particularly dense cluster of fracture patterns. Observe the junk. Qian points between Universe 6 and Universe 7, more severely compromised than other paired sets due to your catalytic presence in both, Son Goku. Vada studied the patterns with tactical assessment. The damage appears systematic. These aren't random fractures but something more structured, almost like deliberate stress tests along dimensional boundaries. Your observation skills are impressive, Princess, Maeve noted, her glowing eyes tracking similar patterns. Indeed, these fractures follow mathematical progression consistent with designed rather than natural occurrence. Designed by whom? Goku asked the obvious question. The Grand Minister's expression revealed nothing. That remains undetermined. Though we now approach the most interesting anomaly, the boundary where erased universes are remanifesting. Their transit shifted, patterns around them changing from organized mathematics to chaotic swirls that somehow contained hidden order, like weather systems that appear rondo. Until viewed from sufficient distance to reveal underlying patterns. Universe 13 through Universe 18, the Grand Minister narrated as they passed through shimmering barrier. Erased from existence. Eons ago when cosmic balance required recalibration. Now returning through processes not entirely understood even by divine hierarchy. Not understood, or not acknowledged. Maeve questioned with subtle challenge in her tone. The Grand Minister merely smiled enigmatically in response. Their dimensional transit concluded with sudden transition from abstract pattern space to solid reality. They emerged onto vast platform floating in endless void, a structure so massive it dwarfed anything Goku had encountered outside Zeno's palace itself. The tournament grounds extended beyond normal visual range, constructed from material that gleamed with inner light that shifted colors subtly as they watched. Multiple stadiums of varying sizes surrounded central arena so vast it could have contained small cities within its boundaries. Between these competitive spaces stretched plaza areas, accommodation structures, and observation platforms designed to host representatives from 18 distinct universes. Most impressive was the crowd already gathered, beings of every conceivable form and energy signature, from conventional humanoids to entities composed entirely of light or mathematical concept. Divine representatives stood apart from mortal delegations, their power carefully contained to prevent accidental dimensional damage. Gods of destruction, supreme Kais, angels, and countless less. Esser deities mingled in formal diplomatic interaction that belied the tension evident in careful positioning and subtle energy fluctuations. "Welcome to the Null Dimension," the Grand Minister announced. "The only location capable of safely hosting representatives from all 18 universes without strain on cosmic fabric." "Null Dimension?" Vada questioned. "I'm unfamiliar with this realm." "Few would be," Maeve answered before the Grand Minister could respond. "It exists outside conventional multiverse structure, a pocket dimension created specifically for cross-universal events of significant magnitude. Its primary advantage lies in dimensional neutrality," the Grand Minister explained. "Here, no universe holds home field advantage. All exist as visitors under equal conditions." Oku scanned the gathered entities with growing excitement mingled with strategic assessment. Fighters from across existence had assembled, their power signatures ranging from impressive to awe-inspiring. Some appeared similar to known species, variations of Saiyans, Namekians, Frieza race entities, while others defied categorization entirely. "Over 4,000 competitors," he noted with genuine enthusiasm. "This makes Earth's tournament look like practice match." 4,327 confirmed registrants, Lina corrected, her instruments providing precise data. "Representing 18 universes, 72 galaxies, and approximately 600 distinct species classifications. All competing for something more significant than mere victory," Vada observed, her tactical mind already assessing potential allies and threats among the gathered fighters. "Come," the Grand Minister directed, leading them toward Central Administrative Area where Divine represent at. Ives had established operational headquarters. "Lord Zeno awaits your official registration before opening ceremonies commence." As they traversed the main concourse, Goku noticed how the crowd reacted to their passage, conversations pausing, entities turning to observe with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Word had clearly spread about the Catalyst and his companions. "We've attracted attention," Vada murmured, maintaining regal posture despite the scrutiny. "Inevitable," Maeve replied calmly. "A Universe 7 mortal trained by Zeno himself. A Universe 6 Saiyan Prince operating beyond her cosmic jurisdiction. A Universe 3 scientist with experimental technology. And former Destroyer God serving as tournament observer. We represent walking cosmic anomalies. Necessary anomalies," the Grand Minister added, "for unprecedented times." They arrived at Central Pavilion where highest-ranking divine representatives had gathered. The structure itself defied conventional architecture, its geometry suggesting concepts beyond three-dimensional understanding. Within this impossible space, arranged in formal hierarchy, stood the gods of destruction and supreme Kais. From all 18 universes, including 6 whose very existence had been erased from cosmic record until recent dimensional fractures allowed their restoration. Among the gathering, Goku recognized Universe 7's representatives immediately, Beerus looking characteristically bored despite the cosmic significance of the event, Whis maintaining serene smile that revealed nothing of his thoughts, and Upream Kai appearing distinctly uncomfortable surrounded by counterparts from other universes. What drew Goku's attention most powerfully, however, was the elevated platform at Gathering's center. Zeno himself sat upon simplified version of his cosmic throne. The Omni King appeared exactly as Goku remembered from years of training, childlike in form yet emanating authority that transcended comprehension. His simple appearance belying power to unmake existence with casual thought. Beside Zeno stood figures Goku recognized from his time in the Nexus, the personal attendants who rarely left the Omni King's presence. And somewhat to his surprise, Orin herself. The celestial archivist maintained her characteristic formal posture, though her eyes widened fractionally upon seeing Goku among the approaching group. As they neared the central gathering, divine representatives parted respectfully before the Grand Minister, though many cast curious or calculating glances toward his unusual companions. Whispers followed their progress. Speculation about the mortal who had supposedly trained with Zeno, the Saiyan princess operating outside her universe, the Kai scientist with unconventional methods, and most controversially, the former destroyer whose abdication had created cosmic scandal centuries earlier. They reached the central platform, stopping at appropriate distance from Zeno's throne. The Grand Minister bowed formally before addressing his Supreme Master. "My Lord, I present Son Goku of Universe 7, as requested, along with Princess Vada of Universe 6, Scientific Advisor Lina of Universe 3, and Lady Maeve, former Destroyer of Universe 12. Zeno regarded them silently for a moment that stretched uncomfortably before his childlike face broke into a smile of genuine pleasure. An expression that caused several gods of destruction to flinch involuntarily, well aware that Zeno's happiness and universal erasure sometimes occurred in disturbing proximity. Goku, Zeno exclaimed, met with enthusiasm that seemed at odds with his cosmic position. You came. Good. Despite the formality of the gathering, Goku couldn't help returning the smile with equal warmth. Of course I came. Wouldn't miss it for anything. Several divine representatives appeared scandalized by this familiar address of the Omni King, but Zeno himself seemed delighted by the informal greeting. He floated down from his throne to hover before Goku at eye level, a gesture of equality that sent fresh ripples of shock through the assembly. Training helped. Using techniques well? Zeno asked with childlike directness. Definitely. Goku confirmed. Everything you and Orin taught me has been incredibly useful. Just had to use those void containment patterns you showed me against some null agents earlier today. At this casual mention of combat against entities most divine beings considered terrifying cosmic threats, murmurs spread through the gathered representatives. Orin, still standing near Zeno's throne, maintained her composed expression though Goku detected subtle pride in her posture. Zeno nodded with satisfaction before turning his attention to Vada, who immediately dropped to form. Kneeling position appropriate when addressing the Omni King. Stand, Zeno instructed. No kneeling at tournament. Too formal. Boring. Vada rose cautiously, maintaining respectful expression despite her evident surprise at the informal treatment. Thank you, Lord Zeno. It is an honor to represent Universe 6 in this historic event. Last Sadala Royal, Zeno observed, studying her with unreadable expression. Important bloodline. Carries old memories. Before Vada could question this cryptic statement, Zeno had already shifted attention to Lina, who bowed with precision calibrated to demonstrate exactly appropriate respect without excessive formality. Universe 3 scientist, Zeno acknowledged. Making good instruments. Learning useful things. Affirmative, Lord Zeno, Lina replied, her silver eyes widening with evident surprise at being directly addressed by the Omni King. My analytical frameworks have expanded by approximately 42.7% since beginning observation of the Caudalie Saint subject and associated dimensional phenomena. Good. Keep learning. Share with others. Zeno's final instruction carried weight beyond simple encouragement, almost commandment for scientific coup. Ration that transcended universal boundaries. Finally, Zeno turned to Maeve, whose presence had created most visible discomfort among divine representatives. Former destroyer gods were rare enough to be nearly mythical. Most who left position did so through erasure rather than abdication, and Maeve's continued existence represented cosmic anomaly that challenged established hierarchy. Maeve, Zeno greeted simply. Changed mind about destroying. Good. Better at building now. The former destroyer met Zeno's gaze directly, a courage few beings in existence could claim. I continue seeking balance, Lord Zeno, as I have since abdicating my position. Whether that constitutes building remains subject to perspective. Something like amusement flickered in Zeno's expression. Still using big words. Some things don't change. With introductions apparently complete to his satisfaction, Zeno returned to his throne with casual floating motion. Once seated, his demeanor shifted subtly, childlike. Enthusiasm giving way to more focused purpose that reminded Goku of training sessions when the Omni King had demonstrated cosmic principles beyond mortal comprehension. Tournament starts soon, Zeno announced to the entire gathering. 18 universes competing. Special rules. Important purpose. He gestured to the Grand Minister, who stepped forward to elaborate on this abbreviated explanation. The Tournament of Existence differs from previous divine competitions in several significant aspects, the Grand Minister explained, his voice carrying effortlessly to all assembled beings. While combat prowess remains central focus, this event specifically tests ability to maintain dimensional integrity under stress conditions. Holographic displays materialized around the central platform, showing tournament structure and rule modifications. The Grand Minister continued his explanation as these visual aids illustrated key concepts. Competitors will participate in both individual and team events across multiple tournament phases. Initial rounds involve standard combat within controlled dimensional boundaries. Later phases incorporate progressive reality instability, requiring participants to maintain dimensional coherence while engaging opponents. Goku studied the displayed tournament structure with growing interest. Unlike Earth's simple elimination format, this competition involved complex progression through multiple stages, with fighters advancing based on performance across various criteria beyond mere victory. Each universe may field up to 24 representatives, the Grand Minister continued. Preliminary rounds begin in 6 hours, with opening ceremonies commencing in 2. Universe delegations should complete registration and orientation before that time. As the Grand Minister provided additional procedural details, Orin approached their small group with formal stride that nonetheless conveyed subtle urgency. "Son Goku," she greeted with characteristic precision. Though Goku detected warmth beneath her formal address. "Your progress continues to exceed baseline projections, I see. Instructor Orin," Goku replied with genuine pleasure, unconsciously straightening his posture as he had during countless training sessions. "It's good to see you again." Indeed. Her gaze shifted to his companions with professional assessment. "You've assembled interesting allies since returning to Universe 7. Strategic adaptability was always among your stronger attributes." Before further conversation could develop, a commotion near the pavilion entrance drew their attention. A new delegation had arrived. Representatives from Universe 6 led by Champa, whose rotund form and perpetual scowl formed mirror opposite to his Universe 7 twin Beerus. Beside him walked his attendant Vados, along with Supreme Kai Fua and assorted fighters whose energy signatures marked them as Universe 6 tournament representatives. Vada tensed visibly as her universe's delegation approached, her posture shifting to formal military bearing that suggested complicated relationship with her home universe's divine hierarchy. Champa spotted them immediately, Hi's expression darkening further as he recognized Vada among what appeared to be Universe 7 representatives. With characteristic lack of subtlety, he marched directly toward their group, Divine Energy S. Whirling around him in poorly contained irritation. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.